he has in his arsenal.
He's ball changeup guy, doesn't use the changeup much, but he said developing that curveball as an out pitch has been the biggest difference between him at Tennessee and him in Harwich. So I think that's definitely something to look for, especially because Cotuit has had some issues with guys who pitch backwards, guys who rely on those breaking balls. So I would look for him, if he wants to be successful the first time through the order at least, is if he uses the curveball early in counts and he throws it for strikes, I think he can certainly do a lot of damage against this Cotuit lineup.
Speaking of people who could do damage against the Cotuit pitching, that is, so a little switcheroo there. Cam Thompson from Kansas State. Wouldn't know it as a baseball school, but Thompson making his name known. He's been again, these Harwich bats have been pretty quiet. We'll talk about that in a minute too, because that's a noted storyline as we spoke to the Harwich broadcast, like you mentioned, for them so far this season. But Cam Thompson has had decent stuff so far.
Yeah, excellent pivot there, by the way.
Tried my best.
But yeah, he's batting .342. He's got 13 hits in the early going. He's only appeared in 10 games. But yeah, he's he's pretty similar to the rest of the team. He has this team in total has a middle of the pack batting average, middle of the pack OBP. Thompson batting .342. It's solid. It's good. It's not out of this world. And he only has 2 extra base hits, right. which has sort of been this team's problem. They've been sort of Moneyball A's sort of thing. If they get on base, but they don't really do much else with it. So that's really, I would say, a credit to their pitching, if it shows that they're first in the East, and they don't have much pop so far this season.
You mentioned it, the best team ERA by almost half a run right now, 2.59, the team ERA overall for the Mariners. So that's sort of their deal, but at the plate, like you mentioned, they're tied for last in the league with 2 home runs. It's sort of a magical way that they've found success so far this year, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly don't. In the Cape League, you have guys adjusting to wood bats. You're certainly not going to see a ton of long balls. You don't expect to see it. You don't expect to see guys hitting 30 homers in 45 games. But yeah, 2 home runs for a whole team through 14 games feels sort of like an outlier in terms of power outage. They do have 22 doubles, which leads the league. Right. Which shows sort of they may top out at gap power as a team, which you can certainly win games not hitting home runs, and you can definitely win games down here if you have pitching like they do. You don't have to hit home runs, but I can tell you right now, every single hitter in that dugout wants to be hitting home runs, and they want to be hitting extra base hits, and they want to be putting up runs, because I think as a hitter, you don't want to be – you like wins, but as a hitter, enough 1-0 games – and you're going to feel like you start owing the pitchers money, and that's never a good feeling. You want to feel like you as a unit and as a player are doing your part to carry the team. And I think right now their offense isn't quite doing that. So I think they definitely, whether it's with new bats or whether it's just guys adjusting to facing Cape League pitching and hitting with wood bats, but they've got to figure something out, because eventually they're going to start losing games and they got to start putting up runs to win.
For the Kettleers, it seems like it's been the other way around. When they score 4 or less runs, they're winless. When they score 5 or more runs, they're undefeated. So, what we've seen from this Kettleers team so far, do we feel like they can win a low-scoring game that they perhaps might encounter tonight against the Mariners?
I mean, statistically, it's 44 games. They're going to win a game 1-0. But yeah, they haven't shown the ability, and I think the most encouraging one, and it wasn't a close game, and they did score more than 5 runs, but the encouraging game was that game 1 in Chatham, because they laid down 6 bunts. Bo Brundage laid down 2 excellent safety squeezes. He laid one down with 2 strikes, which was a play that was really striking to me, just that Roberts would call it and Brundage would execute it. But just showing the ability, Roberts said to us earlier this year after one of those low-scoring losses that they didn't do enough little things to win that game. And I think those bunts and that smart base running, taking walks, I think if they start doing those little things more consistently, they did the little things well enough to put up 6 runs. So I think if they get solid pitching performances like they have from Baker, and they can do the little things to put up 2 runs, I think they are a team that I think is built to be able to win low-scoring games. They just haven't done it yet.
So there you go. That's your look tonight. We'll see if Cotuit gets caught another one of these low-scoring games. Seems like every time you check the Cape League scoreboard, Harwich is in one of those. Speaking of which, let's go around the league real quick here with the standings. Looking at the Eastern Division, we mentioned the Harwich Mariners in first place, 7-6-1 on the season, followed by Chatham 6-4-2 now after they dropped the tough one to the Kettleers on Sunday. YD 6-5-2 in third place, followed by Orleans at 5-8, and then the Brewster Whitecaps at 3-10-1. One of those last Friday on a walk-off against the Kettleers. Let's look at the Western Division now real quick. Wareham in the lead at 9-5. They lose 3 players to Team USA. Officially, they're gone. So we'll see how that impacts the Gatemen going forward. The Kettleers play them next week. And then Hyannis second at 8-4-1, a game above the Kettleers, who are 7-5. Behind Cotuit is Bourne at 6-6-1, and Falmouth at 4-8. Last night, again, Hyannis over Harwich with 2-0. And then the only other game, another shutout, Orleans over Brewster 5-0. Talking about tonight's games real quick here. Bourne will travel to Brewster. That game's scheduled to start in minutes at 5 o'clock as well as Orleans at YD at Red Wilson Field at 5 o'clock start as well. Where I'm at Hyannis, a 6 o'clock start, and then Falmouth at Chatham, a 7 o'clock start. That's a look around the league. Let's go to a further destination, Omaha, Nebraska. 2 teams that have Kettleers on them, Ben, are eliminated, and one is moving on. The Arkansas Razorbacks going to the final to take on Oregon State. The Beavers from Corvallis moving on. Pete Flaherty calls them this pick to win the College World Series. Game 1 is tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Florida eliminated last Friday, so Andrew Baker, Keenan Bell, Will Dalton, and Brady Smith are on the roster for the Kettleers. Their arrival date is to be announced. Meanwhile, the Texas guys expected to bring a potential booster down here in the next week and a half or so with Duke Ellis and Ryan Reynolds. You hope they can bring a boost, though.
Oh, you certainly do. Those are the kind of guys who I think, can help you win those low-scoring games, or even better, can help you eliminate the low-scoring games as a problem if you're putting up 5 runs a game. They average around that. You would like to be getting to where you're scoring 6 runs every game and then bump it up to 12 once in a while instead of scoring 2 and then occasionally bumping it up to 6. Those are two quality bats. Ellis can provide some outfield depth, which they haven't really struggled for, but with Will Robertson, he took a pitch off the wrist. In Chatham, he went in for x-rays. They came back negative, but he's still out for a little while. So Ellis showing up could certainly give them a boost in the outfield. Reynolds, they haven't struggled for infield depth, but he can definitely help them with that.
Absolutely, and that'll do it for Omaha, and that'll do it for us. Be sure to Bryce Bonnet and Jordan McFarland for the Razorbacks tonight. They're expected down here hopefully at some point this summer. It's a lovely day outside, very few clouds, if any, sunny and in the low 70s. It's camp night here. You can probably hear all the commotion right to our left. But that'll do it for us. On behalf of Ben Fisher, I'm Zach Kaplan. Thanks for watching the Cotuit Kettleers pregame show. But now it's time to turn it over to our broadcast booth. Red leader up there, Sam Niederman. Take it away, Sam and Sam. It's all yours.
Thank you, Zach. And we bring you into Lowell Park. This is Red
today.
Leader along with Gold Leader Sam Brief. And we're so happy to be with you tonight for this beautiful day for some baseball. The Kettleers back in the saddle. It's the Cotuit Kettleers against the Harwich Mariners here on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon just off Main Street in Cotuit. Sam Niederman alongside Sam Brief. Happy to have you along with us. Hope your Tuesday's going well. Sam, almost actually more than a quarter into the regular season, already playing 12 games for Cotuit. It seems like we've gotten past the feel it out stage. Now it might be time for this team to turn the corner.
Right, it's certainly go time, and offensively we started to see a little rhythm in Chatham, I think, with some of the small ball tactics. 2 sack bunts from Bo Brundage, bringing in Peyton Burdick from third, and then a home run from Zach Bierman. And now's the time of the season where the big bats have got to be big, and we'll get to the starting lineup in a few minutes, but we've got 3 very big bats at the top of the lineup today, and it's time to start seeing some of those power hitters really assert themselves. I've been really happy with what I've seen so far from Zach Bierman. He has 2 home runs on the season. He had an absolute rocket of a home run on at the top of the hill out right at Veterans Field, but I'm really looking forward to what we're going to see from the bats today, and really in this week where it's a step towards that second quadrant of the season.
You never know what you're going to see here at Lowell Park, but one man who probably has the best idea, that's the head coach of the Cotuit Kettleers, Mike Roberts. We caught up with him before today's game. Here's what he had to say.
Last game against Chatham, you guys went with some small ball. 2 squeeze plays to score Burdick. They were identical. Brundage laying down a couple of sack bunts. When did you think of that kind of tactic to be put in the game, and that was a big part of our offense on Sunday?
Well, about 50 years ago, really. Is where I was taught that by my high school coach. There are days that, for me, it's a gut feeling. There are days that you feel like you're going to swing the bat and, the ball's going to hit in the alley and you're going to score runs. And there are other days where you just say, we're not very aggressive. The pitcher's got pretty good stuff, keeping the ball down, tough to get it in the air. And so I go to small ball. And, there's a balance.
How about Will Robertson? Went out with a little bit of a wrist in the Chatham game. What's an update on his status?
Getting physical therapy. We have a wonderful physical therapist that helps our club, and Steve is great, and so he's getting some physical therapy. It's still sore, and we got to give it a couple of days. My thoughts going into today, it would probably be the weekend before. My guess is we see Will back in the lineup, and I still think that's probably true. It most likely would be the earliest. I would guess Saturday, but we're just thankful that there's no fracture in there, and he wouldn't be playing at all. So we'll be very appreciative when he plays, no matter how many days he's out.
And how about his performance so far to open up the season? He's been fantastic in that leadoff spot.
Yeah, he's been a good player, and it's been fun to watch him play. And he's a wonderful young man. He's coachable, and so it's been a joy for me. And we're putting a smaller guy in the leadoff spot today in his place, named Toglia. So we got the little guys up front.
And with speaking of him and Thomas Dillard too, and your two returning players towards the top of the order, how key is it to have two experienced guys, switch hitters who can swing the bat well, who have been here before?
Well, I think it's critical to be successful. I brought those two young men here last year as freshmen, and it's very difficult to win with freshmen. But they both had good reputations within the baseball community as switch hitters, fairly balanced from both sides, and I thought they did a really nice job for us last year on a very good ball club with some high draft choices on that club, and I think they're doing an outstanding job again. And Thomas will be catching tonight, which will be and Toglia will be in the DH slot, strictly because he's still nursing a little bit of a hamstring, not bad, a little bit, and so we're kind of going in and out with him as far as first base outfield and DH right now to get his leg well.
All righty. Well, Coach, thanks for your time today, and good luck tonight against Harwich.
You're welcome. I'll call you the Double Sams tonight.
Recapping last game against Chatham, you guys went with some small ball.
An Americana scene here at Lowell Park on a fine Tuesday afternoon for some baseball. I'm Sam Niederman alongside Sam Brief. Good to have you back with us as it's time for the Cotuit Kettleers to take on the Harwich Mariners. First meeting between these two sides this season, an interdivisional clash between East and West, and it should be a good one today. The pitching matchup, a pair of right-handers will get the call for either side. Garrett Stallings, a big right-hander out of University of Tennessee, Knoxville, will get the call for Harwich. Seth Schumann, a right-hander out of Georgia Southern, will be on the mound for the Cotuit Kettleers. Pitching matchup today, pitching the name of the game for Harwich. They're kind of a mysterious team. Coming into this season, they have scored only 38 runs. That's least in the league. They've allowed 38 runs. Best in the league. They barely score, but their pitching has been just so darn good. We've heard about the pitching. We've seen the numbers in the box scores. Finally, we get to see it on display today, and it's been one of their most effective guys, Garrett Stallings.
Yeah, the pitching for Harwich as a staff is just incredible, and unfortunately for the Mariners, they actually just lost two of their best pitchers, Zach Hess and Kyle Bronovich. Bronovich, who was the national strikeout leader this past year for Elon University. But Stallings is a mighty fine pitcher. And here's another one for you, Sam. We know it's been well documented the Kettleers need a score to win. They haven't won a game this year while scoring less than 5 runs. Well, Harwich has won 5 games this season while scoring fewer than 5 runs. They've only scored more than 5 runs once all season. This is a team that has struggled to hit the ball, but pitching has been solid. And today with Garrett Stallings on the mound, a guy who likes to strike guys out, we're going to see a lot of first pitch strikes. has no walks on the season to 15 strikeouts. So we're going to see he's a quick worker. He's going to hit the fastball up in the upper 80s, lower 90s, and he's a guy from Tennessee that can be really solid today. The Kettleers are going to have to try and attack him early because they're going to see a lot of pitches in the zone.
The Kettleers turned to one solid pitcher of their own. That's Seth Schumann, returning for the 2018 season. He pitched here in 2017. He's already made one appearance on the campaign. That was last Thursday against Orleans when he came on a part of that 5-4 comeback victory. He was really good in 3 2/3 innings of relief in that appearance. He's getting the call as a starter today. Schumann should be a good option here for Cotuit.
Yeah, he was solid. One of the unsung heroes of the comeback last week against Orleans when the Kettleers trailed by 4 all the way up to the 7th inning when they exploded for 5 runs. And Schumann was the guy who came in for that middle relief work. He kept things consistent, kept things solid. A similar repertoire to what we're going to see from Garrett Stallings. He's a returning Kettleer, offers a lot of consistency. His first start of the season, so I'm excited to see what he brings.
Plenty of people packed into Lowell Park today, a full grandstand on the third base side, and plenty more on the first base side as it's Boy and Girl Scout Day here at the park. Scouts Day, honoring and recognizing the scouts within the Cotuit community and all their hard work that they do. So they presented the colors and our flag for the national anthem moments ago, and that was a great scene to see. Of course, our coordinator and community events team, Don Lassier, Carlin Matheny, doing a great job with that. Going to be a good one today between the Cotuit Kettleers and the Harwich Mariners. Cotuit has feasted off of the East so far. They're 5-2 when you go back to the win on Game 1 of the doubleheader against Chatham. So now the Kettleers will try and make that mark 6-2, playing Harwich for the first time in the 2018 campaign. Umpires meeting at home plate. The managers will also come out there. It's Mike Roberts in the home white pinstripes, along with Steve Englert, 2 veterans of the Cape. Roberts in his 15th season, Englert in his 16th season, the 4th and 5th most tenured managers active in the Cape, respectively. Let's take you through the starting lineups for today's game, starting with the Harwich Mariners, who are on the road, and they'll be at the plate first. Cam Thompson bats leadoff. He's a center fielder. Chris Gallen bats second, playing right field today. Aaron Shunk is a third baseman. He bats third. Tanner Morris hitting cleanup. He's a shortstop. Danny Casals is a second baseman, hitting fifth. Logan Driscoll, the catcher, hits sixth. Ray Gill in the 7th spot and doing the designated hitting today. Nate Eichhoff, the first baseman, in the 8th spot. He's the first baseman. And Matt Gorski, the left fielder, will round out the Harwich 9. Once again for Harwich, Thompson in center, Galland in right, Shunk at third base, Morris at short, Casals at second base, Driscoll the catcher, Gill is the designated hitter, Eichhoff is the first baseman, and Gorski out and left. That's the lineup that's behind Garrett Stallings, who's the starting pitcher out of Tennessee, a right-hander who will get the ball for Harwich today. Cotuit, they'll be in the field to start things off. Seth Schumann making his first start on the season. Returning to Cotuit, he's made 6 starts in this Lowell Park confines. As you go back to last year, he was 1-2 with a 6.35 ERA. 22 2/3 innings pitched for the Kettleers last season. 27 hits. He gave up 16 earned runs. And he's back for some more here at Lowell Park, making his second appearance on the campaign. He'll be behind the starting defense that sounds like this. Eric Jones at third base. Adam Oviedo at shortstop. Corey Wood, the second baseman. Zach Bierman at first base. No changes for Mike Roberts in his infield that has been very consistent throughout the early stages of the season. The outfield is a little different, and that's because Will Robertson will not be in action today. You heard in the pregame interview with Coach Roberts that he had a little bit of a wrist injury against Chatham on Sunday. The good news is he's okay, going through physical therapy. He did not break his wrist. He should be available by the end of this week, projecting possibly on Saturday against YD. He won't be available tonight, though, so a little bit of a new look in the outfield for the Kets. In left field, it's Jacob Goldfarb out of Oregon. Bo Brundage, the center fielder, and Peyton Burdick gets the nod in right. Thomas Dillard is the catcher who will be working with Seth Schumann today. That's the battery. Schumann out of Georgia Southern, Dillard out of Ole Miss, and it's the first time that we've seen Thomas Dillard behind the plate in the 2018 campaign for the Kettleers. He played at Ole Miss this past spring primarily as an outfielder, noted as a utility man who can play multiple positions, but he was a big-time outfielder for Ole Miss. He gets the call behind the plate today, and Mike Roberts trusting a veteran in a returning player in Dilly.
Yeah, he hasn't played any catcher. He started all 62 games for Ole Miss last year. Each of those were in left field. So Dillard, he's got to work out the kinks. We saw him in practice and taking infield, outfield for the last week pretty much. He's been taking reps at catcher to try and get him familiar again with that. He's obviously caught in the past here in Cotuit, but going straight from the outfield to behind the dish can be a learning curve, but luckily they've got a good one in Dillard.
He actually pitched as well last season
Yeah.
for Cotuit in an emergency role. So if you need him, he'll be there. He pitched in the last regular season game of the 2017 season against YD. That was a case in which Cotuit had already clinched a playoff spot, and they wanted to save arms, so Dillard stepped up and took to the mound. And we're ready to get underway here at Lowell Park. Cotuit against Harwich for the first time in the 2018 season. Schumann versus Stallings, and to lead things off for the Harwich Mariners, it's Cam Thompson, the center fielder out of Kansas State, left-handed batter. That will start things off. Seth Schumann, the right-handed pitcher out of Georgia Southern, looks in. Thomas Dillard for the first time relaying the signs. Schumann out of the windup, his first pitch off the plate with a fastball for ball one. Underway here in Cotuit, just off of Main Street. Glad to have you with us, Sam Niederman, alongside Sam Brief. Cam Thompson, the batter, with a 1-0 count. He looks at a pitch that's just below the knees for ball two. Umpiring clue today, Rick Emerson behind home plate. Jay Dion is the first base umpire, and Tom Ryberg at third base. Schumann winds up for the 2-0. There's a good changeup that's in there on the inside corner for strike one. A 2-1 count to Thompson. Beautiful day at Lowell Park for some baseball, as good as it gets. Blue skies overhead, sunny and 70 degrees. Thompson fouls one back into the parking lot, and it's a 2-2 count. Just underway, top of the first, and the leadoff man is Cam Thompson. Seth Schumann on the mound. Looks in, winds up, and here's his 2-2. Misses down and away with a fastball, and the count runs full. Slight breeze today as the trees bristle back and forth in the outfield. American flag bellowing in the breeze out in left center field. Good crowd on hand. Here's an early full count pitch from Schumann. It's lifted in the air on the left side, and that will get out of play, foul. Kettleers in the home white pinstripes as always today. Trimmed in maroon with the maroon caps and a gray script C on the front. Seth Schumann opting to go with the high socks, pants rolled up. As he looks in with Thomas Dillard, he'll wind up. The payoff pitch again. Cued on the left side, foul once again by Thompson. Harwich in the traveling grays. A very patriotic look. Navy letters and numerals, trimmed in red with also some white accents. The American flag on the back side of the uniforms above the number. Cape Cod League logo on the left shoulder, and the Harwich H with the Mariner logo as well on the chest. Schumann's 3-2 again. This one fouled straight back into the fence, and Thompson will continue to battle. Long at-bat to start out this game as Cotuit seeking their second win in a row, coming off of the Sunday abbreviated doubleheader win over Chatham. Schumann again with a 3-2. Grounded, right side, funneled up by Bierman at first base. He'll toss to Schumann, who takes it to the bag for out number one.
Great job by Schumann fielding his position. He got over there in a real hurry, had a beat on it from the start, and good to see Schumann and Dillard working out the kinks. These are both returning Kettleers, so they've worked together both on the field in the past and in bullpen sessions, I'm sure, over their past 2 years. So there's no surprise that the first time we see Dillard behind the dish is with a returner in Schumann.
Chris Gallen steps in with one out and nobody aboard. He takes the first pitch strike. Good off-speed pitch from Schumann on the outside corner. Gallen, the right-handed batter. Schumann's 0-1. That'll sweep off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gallen, the right fielder out of Boston College. 256 batter on the season. The 1-1. Tailed off foul on the right side. That'll get down near the fence. It's still in play, and Schumann gets ahead in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1 out in the inning. Leadoff man Cam Thompson retired on a 3-1 putout. Top of the first here at Lowell Park. Schumann's 1-2. An excuse me swing that's fouled off on the right side from Gallant. He's just able to get a piece. Seth Schumann out of Georgia Southern, rising junior from Valdosta, Georgia, down there in the deep south. The 1-2 once again. Breaking pitch on the inside corner, called for strike 3. It's a drop third strike from Dillard, who will make the throw down to first base in time. An awkward strikeout number 1 for Seth Schumann, but the Kettleers will take it. That's out number 2 in the inning.
Sort of a slow developing call mixed with the drop third strike and then a hesitant throw from Thomas Dillard all kind of led to a funky strikeout, but it's a strikeout nonetheless. And now Schumann eyeing down a potential 1-2-3 inning.
Aaron Shunk will be the batter with 2 outs and nobody aboard. Third baseman out of Georgia. Right-hander will take a fastball off the plate for ball 1. Schumann dealing it in at 94 miles an hour. The right-hander winds up quickly and deals the 1-0. Hit high in the air to right center field. Brundage getting over towards it in the alley. He'll flag it down for out number 3. So a 1-2-3 frame to open up the game for Seth Schumann, as the Pinstripes will come back to the dugout and gear up to go to the plate for their first time today. No score as we head to the bottom of the first. It's the Kettleers and the Mariners here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Bottom of the first inning here at Lowell Park, and the Kettleers will come to the plate in a scoreless ball game against the Harwich Mariners. Let's get you Mike Roberts' starting lineup. Very new look today. Michael Tolia will bat leadoff. He's a designated hitter, followed by Zach Bierman in the 2 spot, playing first base as usual. Thomas Dillard batting third and doing the catching for the first time in 2018. Eric Jones in the cleanup spot. He's a third baseman. Jacob Goldfarb bats fifth. He plays left field. Bo Brundage batting sixth in center field. Corey Wood, the second baseman and the birthday boy, turning 21 today out of Coastal Carolina. He will bat seventh. Peyton Burdick in the 8-hole, playing right field, and Adam Oviedo, the shortstop, rounding out the order at number 9. Once again, Tolia, the DH, Bierman, first base, Dillard, the catcher, Jones at third, Goldfarb in left, Brundage in center, Wood, happy birthday at second base, Burdick at right, and Oviedo, the shortstop. All behind Seth Schumann, who went 1-2-3 in his first inning of work. Now let's meet Garrett Stallings, a right-hander out of the University of Tennessee, 6'2", 205-pound rising junior out of Chesapeake, Virginia. He'll be facing the big man, Michael Tolia, to start things off. His first pitch to him, fastball on the outside corner for strike 1. Bottom of the first underway, and the giant, the switch hitter in Tolia, who will be batting as a lefty in this at-bat. Step in with an 0-1 count. Stallings runs outside that ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Michael Tolia, not always accustomed to being the leadoff man, but Mike Roberts always liking to go with his best hitter first. That's his philosophy, so the big UCLA Bruin will dig in. He fouls one off high on the left side. It's going to track behind the grandstand on the third base side and go back by the Kettleers kitchen and the concession line. Hopefully everybody had a heads up down there.
I heard they're serving lobster rolls there for the rest of the summer now.
How about that? I'll have to check that out. Stallings winds up for the 1-2. Breaking pitch blocked in the dirt by his catcher, Logan Driscoll. That's ball 2. Michael Tolia just 2 for 10 on the young season as he arrived. Went 1 for 4 with an RBI back in the 7th inning in that Game 1 win over Chatham. 2-2 from Stallings. Hit in the air, left field. That ball sinking, but it will be into the glove of a diving Matthew Gorski, who makes the play out there on left. He robs Tolia of a base hit, and that's a tough way to start things out for the Kettleers. It looked like Tolia had a base knock, but Gorski a good play and left.
A really nice play there from Gorski, all 6'4" of him going full extension to rob Michael Tolia of a base hit, and that was a good little piece of opposite field hitting by Tolia, but an even better play.
So 1 out in the inning, and Zach Bierman will be the batter, and now time called behind the plate by Rick Emerson. Garrett Stallings was already in his windup, but Emerson stepped from behind the plate and said, let's pause, and now we're ready for the first pitch to Bierman. Down and away with a changeup for ball 1. Bottom of the first inning, no score. 1 out, and here's the 2 batter, Bierman. Stallings out of the windup. He deals in a good breaking pitch, a swing and a miss from Bierman. It's 1-1. Stallings has been fantastic for this Harwich pitching staff that leads the league in earned run average with a 2.59 mark. The only sub-3 ERA in the Cape. The 1-1, big hack and a miss by Bierman upstairs on a fastball. It's 1-2. Stallings has made 2 starts this season, both against the Orleans Firebirds. He went 6 innings, allowing only 2 runs his last time out. The 1-2 from Stallings, down and away again with a changeup. Both those were 1-run wins. Struck out 5 his second game, struck out 10 in the first. The 2-2 runs inside on Bierman, and he works the count full. Stallings with the stirrups on the mound, like many of the Mariners on the road. 3-2. High and tight, called for strike 3. Rick Emerson behind the plate. Charges a backwards K to Zach Bierman, who goes down looking, and that's out number 2 in the inning.
One of maybe many strikeouts we'll see today from Garrett Stallings, a pure strikeout guy on the season, 15 Ks, no walks. He likes to say that his least favorite thing about pitching is throwing walks, so he tries to minimize it.
It's a good plan, as Dillard is a first pitch swinger, grounding one over to first base. The toss on to Stallings in time for out number 3. So the Kettleers go down in order, still scoreless, as we head to the second inning of play between the Cotuit Kettleers and the Harwich Mariners. This is Cotuit Kettleers baseball on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Ready for the second inning of play here at Lowell Park. Seth Schumann still on the mound for the Kettleers, due to face 4, 5, and 6 in the Harwich lineup. Tanner Morris to lead things off, then Danny Casals and Logan Driscoll, as it's a scoreless ball game between the Kettleers and the Mariners. Happy to have you along with us, Sam Niederman, alongside Sam Brief. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. Schumann will wind up. His first pitch to Morris dips down and inside with a fastball. It got away from Thomas Dillard, who's the new catcher today for Cotuit. And it's a 1-0 count. Schumann quick to wind up and offer the 1-0, a flare into right field. However, that will track over foul, and it's 1-1. Tanner Morris One of the better hitters in this lineup for the Mariners. He's hitting .394 on the campaign, 13 hits and 38 at-bats. Schumann's 1-1, grounded up the middle, backhand pick by Wood. He'll whip it over to first in time for the first out of the inning. How about Corey Wood on that defensive play? The right side of that infield, all Coastal Carolina making that 4-3 put out. Wood to Bierman. He made the pick on his birthday. That's a good way to start.
Yeah, happy 21st birthday, Corey Wood, making the really nice backhanded pick, and then the tough throw across your body. He was pretty much in line with second base when he made the throw. Much easier for us to talk about it up here than for him to do it down there. A very impressive play.
New batter is Danny Casals with 1 out and nobody on. There's a first pitch strike from Schumann. Casals, a second baseman out of the University of Maine. Struggling on the campaign, just 4 for 27. Nearly a check swing on that second pitch, and he did go around, according to Jay Dion, down first base, and it's 0-2. 1 out in the inning and nobody on. Seth Schumann working well in his first start of 2018. Here's the 0-2. Hit high in the air, straight away to center field. Brundage on his horse trying to track back for it. Running out of room. That one will end up going off the wall in deep right center field. Danny Casals rounding second. He'll be into third, sliding with a 1-out triple. He pelted that baby over the head of Brundage, who initially was coming in on the ball. Then he had to retreat back for it. It goes off the middle of the wall in deep right center field, and that is a triple to get the Mariners cooking with their first hit of the game.
A really impressive hit there from a team that hadn't had any triples yet to this point. So that was the first triple of the season for Harwich. Not a team with many extra base hits on the year. We know they've struggled certainly to put the ball in play, but that time just whipped it into center.
Ground ball right side, infield playing in for Cotuit, and that one's going to get by Zach Bierman. Logan Driscoll delivers a little base hit on the right side of the infield, and the run will come home to score in the form of Danny Casals, and it's an early 1-0 lead for Harwich. Kettleers had the infield playing in. That was a high chopper that Bierman was unable to handle there at first. It gets by his glove. They're going to rule that as an error, and that'll give Harwich their first score of the game. Swing and a miss from Ray Gill on the first pitch of this at-bat. 7-hole batter. Down the count 0-1. 1 out here in the top of the second, and Harwich has jumped out to an early lead. 1-0 off the E3. Danny Casals comes home to score after his 1-out triple. Runner on Logan Driscoll. Held on by Bierman. Schumann out the stretch. 0-1 count to Gill, the designated hitter, who fouls it back into the fence. No balls, 2 strikes. Schumann will check over on the runner at first base, and now he'll step off the rubber as time is called. Infield at double play death for Cotuit. Oviedo and Wood up the middle. Jones in on the grass at third. Bierman holding on at first. Here's the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Ray Gill goes down swinging, and Seth Schumann registers his second punch out of the day, and that's a big out number 2.
A really good pitch there from Schumann. And he's gotten a bit of a rhythm. Really, the only blemish on his resume is that triple from Danny Casals. Other than that, he's been attacking these hitters with first pitch strikes, and he looks good out there.
Nate Eichhoff is the batter, left-handed batting first baseman, who will step in looking for his first hit of the season. 2 outs and a runner on first here in the second inning. He slices one foul on the left side out of play. Eichhoff 0 for 25 on the campaign with 6 strikeouts for Harwich. First baseman out of the University of Virginia. Cavalier will try and keep the inning alive for Harwich, who's up 1-0 here in the top of 2. Schumann ready for the 0-1. That's 1 ball and 1 strike. Kettleers getting back underway here this week after a couple of off days. Saturday's game against Orleans postponed to this Thursday. Check over on first as Gill able to slide back in, Driscoll. The second game of that Chatham doubleheader obviously fogged out. The new date for that postponed game, TBD still. 1-1 from Schumann. Hit high, center field. Brundage will get over to it. He'll make the catch, and that's out number 3. But the Kettleers let up a run. Harwich gets one. Danny Casales comes home after going on the one-out triple. And that's the score as we head to the bottom of the second. Harwich 1, Kettleers 0 as the Ketts will come to the plate on the next inning here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Bottom of the second inning here at Lowell Park, and the Kettleers down by a run against the Harwich Mariners. It's 1-0 Harwich, 4, 5, and 6 due up in the Cotuit order. It's Eric Jones, Jacob Goldfarb to be followed by Bo Brundage as Harwich scores one in the top half of the inning. An error on Zach Bierman with the infield playing in, allowing Danny Casales to come home and score. And it's 1-0 M's here in the bottom of the second inning. Eric Jones will start things off against Garrett Stallings, the right-hander on the mound. First pitch to Jones, hit high, a little flare into the left field. Coming on is Gorski. He'll make the catch on the run for out number 1.
And Gorski making another nice play out in left field, but still Eric Jones getting contact on the first pitch. That's been the name of the game for him this season. He's been solid defensively. He's a guy who does not strike out very often. And that time making some good contact, just a little shorter, and it would have been down for a base hit.
So here's Jacob Goldfarb. 0 for 5 on the season in limited action as he got here last week out of Oregon. Left-handed batter will step in with 1 out and nobody on. First pitch swinging against Stallings. Here's a fly ball into left center field. Able to not make the catch. That's off the tip of the glove of Cam Thompson. Goldfarb's going to steam all the way into third base. He slides in underneath the tag. How about Jacob Goldfarb with a 1-out triple? That one goes off the tip of the glove of Cam Thompson in center field. It will be an error. So an E8 that time, allowing Goldfarb to get all the way to third base.
Look at those wheels, man. That's a catcher. I know he's playing in the outfield today, but he also catches a lot for the Oregon Ducks. I mean, coming around second into third, he was really coming in hot, flashing the wheels. Jacob Goldfarb, remember, he led the Ducks this past season in stolen bases. He offers a lot of speed, and now the Kettleers are in business.
So Garrett Stallings out of the stretch for the first time today against Bo Brundage, who waves and misses at a good slider, and it's 0-1. The error will be charged to Cam Thompson in center field. He went over to left center deep in the alley to try and make that catch, and it went off the tip of his mitt. Here's the 0-1 to Brundage. Curveball pulled over on the right side, foul. Kettleers trailing by a run, 1-0 here in the bottom of the second. Jacob Goldfarb is the runner on third base. He reaches via the air, and of course his speed able to go all the way into third base. The deep hit to left center. The 0-2 to Brundage. He fights it off. That's a fair ball down the left field line. Oppo hitting from Bo Brundage will play Goldfarb. He'll wheel all the way into second base as they finally get it in from left field. It's a 1-out rally from the Kettleers. They've tied the game 1-1.
Really, really nice piece of hitting from Brundage. It was a tough fastball into his hands. He turned on it really well. Just ricocheted off his bat down the left field line. Scoring Goldfarb easily, and now here comes the birthday boy looking to keep the line moving.
It's Corey Wood. Happy birthday to Corey. His 21st birthday today. Second baseman out of Coastal Carolina will dig in with a runner on second base. One out here in the bottom of the second. Kettleers have tied the game. Bo Brundage with the RBI double. Right-handed pitcher Garrett Stallings out of the stretch. He kicks and deals a curveball in the dirt for ball one. How about that hit from Brundage? He really fought that one off. A left-handed batter poking that one down the left field line. Just able to get it inside the chalk there where some shadows cast beyond the third base bag. Stallings will twist back towards second to check on Brundage, but nobody covering. Middle infield duo of Tanner Morris and Danny Casals. 1-1 ball game and a 1-0 count to Corey Wood. He swings and hits one high in the air to deep center field. Thompson ranging back near the wall. He'll make the catch. Tagging from second base is Brundage. He'll move up to third base easily. And a productive long out from Corey Wood, who flies to center. Moving up Brundage to third base with 2 outs in the inning.
All right, so Corey Wood does his job on a really windy day, and it certainly is not a windy day as the American flag out in left center is virtually still. That ball could have carried out of the park for the second home run of Corey Wood's season. But the Kettleers will take that. Now Peyton Burdick a chance to drive in another run.
Peyton Burdick up at the plate, getting the start today in right field. 8-hole batter will come up with a runner on third and 2 outs. Stallings out of the stretch. A nice slider in there for strike one. Harwich 1, Cotuit 1. Brundage, the runner on third base, his RBI double ties up this game here in the bottom of 2. Stallings 0-1 pitch, cued right up the middle, and it takes a bad hop on the second baseman Casals, and that will spike all the way into right field. So Burdick reaches base, and that will allow Brundage to score, and the Kettleers have taken the lead 2-1 here in the bottom of 2.
How about it? That was a nice hit from Burdick, and looks like on the official scoreboard they're going to rule that a hit, not an error, and I agree with that. It was a funky hit off his bat, a one-hopper that came off the dirt really hard into Casals. You know, a play a lot of second basemen will make, but hard to rule that an error because the funky hop it took. That was just a sharp grounder, and Peyton Burdick drives in another run. Kettleers now take the lead.
So the Kets are back in control, leading 2-1 here in the bottom of the second. Burdick is running. A foul ball, though, at the plate from Adam Oviedo in his first time up, and that'll have to move Bird back to first base, and it's 0-1. So Burdick, with now his 9th run driven in on the season, had the RBI fielder's choice against YD on Thursday. He gives the Kets the lead here in the bottom of the second. 0-1 the count to Adam Oviedo, and time called behind the plate by Rick Emerson, who walked out of there right when that pitch was coming in.
He didn't want that pitch to come in.
He's the man in control as the umpiring crew rang the powder blues today. Points to Garrett Stallings and says it's on you. He comes set very quickly. The right-hander will go back to first base. Burdick wasn't even off, and he's back in safely. Kettleers with 2 runs here in the second. Burdick's RBI single has given Cotuit the lead. Already some action here at Lowell Park early in this one. Another pick over to first as Burdick kind of hops back in. Adam Oviedo, the batter, still with an 0-1 count.
It's nice to see the bats hot early on for Cotuit. That's been a struggle this year, is those first 2 or 3 innings, we've really seen no action for the Kettleers, but today, hot and heavy right away.
Burdick running again on the 0-1. It's high and inside. Now hang on a second. Time called behind the plate by Rick Emerson. They're going to appeal if Oviedo went around. He said he did not, so the pitch is called for a ball. Rick Emerson, the home plate umpire, pointing down to Jay Dion, the first base umpire. He appealed on a check swing. However, Burdick was the runner who was going. They told him to go back. I don't know if that was batter's interference on the catcher, perhaps, as Driscoll behind the plate did not make a throw. But Emerson had his hands in the air to say, hang on, no pitch. It was a balk. So that's what it was.
Or no, he was saying
it was
a ball.
It
was a ball.
I beg your pardon.
So it was because of the appeal to the umpire.
Okay.
At first base.
So Burdick is still on first base. Oviedo checked his swing, so it's a 1-1 count with 2 outs. Stallings to the plate, hits one in the air, right field, going back on his horse is Galland. He'll make the catch right before the wall, and that will end the inning. But the Kettleers take the lead. They're up 2-1 heading into the third. Peyton Burdick and Bo Brundage with RBIs in that frame to put the Ketts back on top. Sam Brief will have the play-by-play when we come back. You're listening to Cotuit Kettleers Baseball here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network.
Back here at Lowell Park, top of the third, Kettleers on top of the Mariners, 2-1. Seth Schumann back on to work the third. He'll face Matt Gorski, the 9-hole hitter for the Mariners. Then back to the top of the order with Cam Thompson and Chris Galland. A beautiful, sunny, windy day here in Cotuit. The wind has picked up quite a bit since we got on air. The weather app says it's 16 miles an hour and the wind blowing straight out. We've had a few would-be routine fly balls coming right to the track. Most notably, Adam Oviedo's inning-ending fly ball to right as the first pitch comes to Matt Gorski, tailed off foul for strike 1. Chris Galland, the right fielder for Harwich, made the catch right up against the wall, and I think most days here at Lowell Park, that ball is probably a few feet in front of the fence. Gorski sends another one foul to the backstop. No balls, 2 strikes. So the Kettleers pieced together 2 runs in the second after Harwich scored in the top of the inning. Danny Casals got a triple, and then Logan Driscoll drove him in on an error. Here's the 0-2 pitch. It's a little bit low for ball 1. Then in the bottom half of the inning, Jacob Goldfarb gets all the way to third on an error by the center fielder Cam Thompson. Here's the 1-2, swing and a miss, drop third strike, scooped up by Dillard. The throw to first is in time, and that is already the 3rd strikeout of the day for Seth Schumann. And now here comes the top of the order with Cam Thompson.
3 strikeouts of the first 9 batters. You face a pretty darn good rate for Seth Schumann, who's looking very clean early on. Lots of strikes. The only mistake was that triple that was hit by Casals, and really, he's kept everything in the yard, and that's what you got to do.
First pitch to Cam Thompson, ricochet down the left field line. It drops in fair territory, and now coming in a second is Thompson. The throw to Corey Wood, not in time, as Thompson slides under the tag. Just a little bloop single, or bloop double rather, out into left field. What we like to call a Bermuda Triangle of sorts forming between the third baseman Eric Jones, the shortstop Adam Oviedo, and the left fielder Jacob Goldfarb just dropped in between the 3 of them, and that's good for a 1-out double.
Yeah, that was a Bermuda Triangle if I've ever seen one. Mm-hmm. Jones plays in on the grass, so he probably would have had the best shot to get to that ball along with Oviedo, but they were unable to, and that one just dropped in a good spot.
Chris Galland, a line shot through on the left side. Now here comes Chris Thompson rounding third. He scores standing up. Sliding into second is Galland with a 2nd consecutive double on 2 straight pitches for Harwich. And this ball game is knotted up at 2 runs apiece.
That's the beauty of baseball right there. Just 2 pitches, and all of a sudden we're tied up once again. 2 consecutive doubles down that left field line. One a bloop, and then that one was a hard-hit ball from Galland. making the Kettleers pay with a bad pitch there from Schumann. Unfortunately, missed its spot.
You get the feeling this is the type of day where the bats are going to be swinging all day long. Sunny, wind blowing out. Hitters are biting for a chance, and now here's a flare out into right field, down for a base hit off the bat of Aaron Shunk. Chris Gallen moves over to third as the throw comes in, and there's a single for Aaron Shunk, so 3 pitches, 3 consecutive hits for Harwich. And just as I was saying, this seems like the type of the day where in the dugout batters are just biting at the chomp to come in. Again, sunny, wind blowing out at 16 miles per hour. It seems like everything is clicking right now for Harwich.
Yeah, Harwich really pouncing at every pitch that they see from Seth Schumann. The last 3 that they've seen, they've all put him in play. 3 consecutive hits, tying this game up at 2. And they got shut out last night against Hyannis, so you know they're going to be wanting to get back at the plate here.
Runners at the corners for Tanner Morris. No surprise there. He takes a swing on the first pitch and sends it foul for strike 1. We are in the top of the third. Cotuit 2, Harwich 2. An 0-1 count to Tanner Morris with 1 out and runners at the corners. That's Galland at third and Shunk at first. Schumann out of the stretch. Does the double take, looking over to third, then to first. No pickoff attempt. As Thomas Dillard, the catcher, looks over to the Cotuit dugout to get the signal, just putting his glove up to block the sun, which is starting to set here in Cotuit. An 0-1 count. Here's the pitch. Swing and a foul straight back into the parking lot. No balls, 2 strikes. Schumann's got to feel good after settling down Tanner Morris here. After 3 consecutive pitches were taken for hits. So Schumann, he digs in as the infield crashes in. All on the corners of the infield are the Kettleer infielders. Here's the pitch, swung on a little flare to short, scooped up by Oviedo, flips it to Corey Wood for 1. Throw to first goes over the head of Zach Bierman. That allows Chris Gallen to score, and Harwich has taken a 3-2 lead.
Interesting there, because when that changed to an 0-2 count, immediately the Kettleers middle infielders were signaled to come in. So everybody on the infield was playing in on the grass with an 0-2 count and runners on first and third. And unfortunately, with only 1 out in the inning, Oviedo makes a good hit, or a good pick. It was hit right at him. But the runner at third was always going to stay because he was in. So we flipped over to Wood at second, but that was not how they normally turn a 6-4-3 double play, and as a result, a poor throw.
First pitch strike to Danny Casals. So now 3-2 Harwich. Only runner on is over at first base. That's Tanner Morris. They ruled that an E6, or an E4 rather, a throwing error on Corey Wood. There's a big cut and a miss for strike 2. Now an 0-2 count with 2 outs. It's been a busy day on the base paths. 3 runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for Harwich. 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 errors for the Kettleers. What a busy day it's been. Harwich leading at 3-2 here in the third. 0-2 count with 2 outs. Schumann looking to put away the Mariners here. He face off against Danny Casals and now calls a brief timeout as Schumann, with the pinstripe Kettleer uniform and the high socks, fires over to first with the pickoff attempt. But Morris is back in the nick of time. Now Schumann set with the 0-2 count and 2 outs, pitching to Danny Casals. He kicks and deals. It's a breaking pitch a little bit high for ball 1. Casals out of the University of Maine, Orono. Only 4 for 27 on the season coming into this one, but with 10 walks, as Schumann checks on the runner once again. Schumann out of Georgia Southern. Remember, he's a returning Kettleer, 6 starts last year. A 6.35 ERA and 19 Ks. He readies for the 1-2, gets the signal. Here's the pitch. It trails a bit inside, and the count moves to 2-2. Schumann was a 2-sport athlete, not only in high school, but his freshman season at Georgia Southern. He was a pitcher for the baseball team and a quarterback for the football team. He comes set with a 2-2 count and 2 outs. Here's the pitch, swung on, and a flare foul into the trees on the first base side. We'll do it again, 2 balls, 2 strikes. He said his freshman season at Georgia Southern, there were some nights where he would pitch for the baseball team, and then the next morning he'd have 8 a.m. football practice, and he'd have to throw the pigskin around as he checks on the runner. He did say it was okay because the muscles he uses to pitch versus the muscles he uses to throw the football, it's a different set of muscles, so his arm didn't get too tired. And he readies for the 2-2. Here's the pitch. A bit low once again, and the count runs full. In the 2016 football season, his freshman year, he was 34 for 72 in his pass attempts, 357 yards, and a touchdown, while also pitching. Mighty impressive to do that at the Division I level. Full count with 2 outs. Here's the pitch to Casale. Swung on, he taps it. A grounder right to Oviedo, who gobbles it up, fires it to Bierman in time for out number 3, but Harwich strikes again. A messy inning, and the Mariners score 2 runs to take a 3-2 lead here at Lowell Park. We'll be back with more Kettleer baseball right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here at beautiful Lowell Park, Mariners lead it 3-2 entering the bottom half of the 3rd. What a beautiful day it is. All blue skies, 71 degrees, the wind blowing out to left. It's a good day to swing the bat. It's a Tuesday afternoon here in Cotuit, and we've got a really good crowd on hand. The Kettleers are second in the Cape League in attendance so far this year. Both the third base grandstand and the first base grandstand chock full with Kettleers fans, and then we've got fans in their lawn chairs lining the courtyard behind home plate, and also up and down the right field and left field lines, and then some fans in the outfield. As the first pitch comes into Tolia, he sends a rocket a mile high, just a little pop-up into the infield. Coming in is Shunk, the third baseman. He makes the catch, out number 1. Some fans in the outfield hoping to catch some home run balls. They might have the right idea. They're in the shade, shielded by the big green trees in the outfield here at Lowell Park. And there's a smattering of fans in their lawn chairs just lined up against the outfield fence. And maybe a guy who will send a ball or two their way is Zach Bierman, who has 2 home runs on the season for the Kettleers. His most recent was in their last game on Sunday against Chatham. In the 7th, he sent a moonshot to the top of the right field hill over at Veterans Field. And the big first baseman out of Coastal Carolina digs in to face Stallings for the 2nd time today. Struck out looking in his first attempt. And now the catcher Logan Driscoll will come to the mound for a quick chat with his pitcher. Only a few words shared between the two as Driscoll comes back. He's got the green chest plate, green catcher's mask, and green shin guards.
George Mason.
Go Patriots.
Yeah.
Made that Final Four run back in 06. As the first pitch comes into Bierman, a breaking ball in there for strike 1.
Vividly remember that because I went to that NCAA championship game that year.
Really? Oh, it was in Indy, right?
Yeah, at the RCA Dome.
Ball 1 comes in high to Bierman. Oh, so you've seen a few Final Fours in your day. I know Indy's popular destination. Here's the 1-1 to Bierman. Another curveball that drops into the zone. Strike 2.
Yeah, that was actually the only Final Four I've been to. They hosted it again in 2015, which was the phenomenal Wisconsin-Duke final game.
A great year. Here comes the 1-2. Bierman cranks it deep into right center field. Coming over is the right fielder Chris Galland, but now the center fielder Cam Thompson calls him off, comes over, and the Kansas State Wildcat makes out number 2. So did you go to that Wisconsin-Duke Final Four? You didn't
No,
make it?
I was in Florida for that one. I remember that morning I actually took a trip to Gainesville, Florida to visit the University of Florida on a college search and came back home to the Panhandle that day. That's where we were at in spring break and Rosemary Beach, Florida, and watched that game, that Duke-Wisconsin game, which I still stand by today as the most entertaining final game in March Madness I think I've seen.
It was, and as the 1-0 comes into Thomas Dillard, he takes a cut and a miss for strike one. The one thing I remember from that game as a young Wisconsin fan, the officiating down the stretch, inexcusable. Here's the 1-1. It's low for ball two. That's the one thing I remember from that game. I think the rest was blocked from my memory. But still, certainly entertaining. Here's the 2-1. Another curveball in there for strike two. Stallings has developed his curveball a lot this year. Looks to that breaking pitch as his put-away pitch. Here's the windup and the delivery. Swung on by Dillard, poked out to the shortstop Morris. Scoops it up, sidearm throw to first in time. Another 1-2-3 inning by Garrett Stallings. That's his second of the day, and his Mariners are on top of the Kettleers 3-2, entering the top of the fourth. We'll be back right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here in Cotuit, Mariners lead it 3-2 in the top of the fourth, and a new pitcher is on the bump for the Kettleers. That's it for Seth Schumann. He goes 3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, only one of which was earned. No walks and 3 strikeouts, and it's another returning Kettleer on the mound, someone we usually have seen this season in a starting capacity, but Zane Collins now on the bump for the Kettleers, the big lefty out of Wright State University, 6'2", 220. A rising senior from West Manfield, Ohio. He started 2 games this season for the Kettleers. That was the Wareham game back on June 14th and the Hyannis game on June 19th. He has a 3.00 ERA on the season, 6 strikeouts, 6 walks. He's given up just 7 hits total on the season, and he's a sinker baller. He's a pitcher who is usually really good right away. Sometimes as it goes along and he starts walking guys, his starts can get derailed, but what do you think of him here in a relief spot?
I like this. Seth Schumann didn't do a bad job at all when giving up 1 earned run. Unfortunately, 3 overall came across the score, but Collins could be the right kind of energy to tame this Harwich lineup. And
here's a slow rolling ground ball right to Corey Wood. He fires to Zach Bierman for out number 1. That was Logan Driscoll, the George Mason Patriot that led to, and his allegiance to George Mason led to our whole conversation about the Final Four back in the third, and now here comes the Miami Hurricane, Ray Gill. Collins up and at it. First pitch is outside for ball 1. So we were talking about how Schumann and Thomas Dillard, that was an all-returning Kettleer battery as strike 1 comes in. So still an all-returning Kettleer battery with Zane Collins pitching to Thomas Dillard. Dillard, the Ole Miss Rebel, making his first start of the season at catcher, and he catches ball 1 on the outside corner. Ball 2, rather. It's a 2-1 count with 1 out. Collins working quickly, gets the signal. He kicks, deals. Foul tip straight back. And the count moves to 2-2. Ray Gill 0 for 1 on the day with a strikeout swinging back in the second. Collins likes to work quickly. Here's the pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out. Zane Collins with his first K of the day. and Ray Gill heads back to the Harwich dugout.
There you go. Zane Collins working fast and furious on that at-bat, and that's what he likes to do. Pitches off of adrenaline. That's
right.
the way. And I think this is a good call to the bullpen here. I think this is the kind of thing that the Kettleers need.
Breaking pitch in the dirt for ball 1 to Nate Eichhoff. The Virginia Cavalier 0 for 26 on the season. Still in search of his first hit. And here comes the pitch from Collins. It's a bit high at the chest of Eichhoff for ball 2. Eichhoff having a little chat with the home plate umpire Rick Emerson, saying, hey, can I get a breather? Steps out, fixes his red batting gloves. Rick Emerson putting the stop sign up to Collins. He says go. Collins does go and fires in ball 3 a bit outside. Looks like Eichhoff wants to get a little breathing room and slow Collins down. He's in the catbird seat now with a 3-0 count. Here comes that 3-0 pitch. A fastball whizzed in right down the middle for strike 1.
Look at Zane's left hand. He puts the ball in his glove, and then look how he twitches that
jittery
left hand before he gets into his windup.
Here comes the 3-1. Swung on a slow rolling ground ball on the right side. Scooped up by Bierman. Throws to Zane Collins and gets the out. A really nice scoop and flip from Zach Bierman. He gets the out, and Zane Collins comes in, pitches a nice 1-2-3 inning. But Cotuit still trails 3-2. They'll look for some runs here in the bottom of the 4th, coming up next on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here in Cotuit, a 1-2-3 inning in the top of the 4th from Zane Collins, but the Mariners still on top, 3-2. And their starter, Garrett Stallings, is back on to work the 4th. Big number 27 out of the University of Tennessee will face off against the 4-5-6 hitters for Cotuit, Eric Jones, Jacob Goldfarb, and Bo Brundage. So the Kettleers had the day off yesterday, the first true off day of the year. There were 2 days prior to that in which the Kettleers didn't play, but those were both rainouts. So the players woke up expecting to play that morning unless they are the sons of weathermen. And Eric Jones digs in to face off Stallings. First pitch from Stallings in there for strike 1. Harwich did not have the day off yesterday. They were playing a rescheduled game against the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. They fell 2-0 to Hyannis, who has snuck up with the second-best record in the West Division, as a looping breaking ball comes in for strike 2 on Eric Jones. Hyannis now 8-4-1 on the season. Just a half game back of the West leading Wareham Gateman. Stallings, here's the windup in delivery on 0-2, a bit outside. Jones doesn't bite. That's ball 1. Mariners had 7 hits but could not score. Didn't capitalize on some opportunities late and ended up losing 2-0 to Hyannis. Here comes the 0-2 pitch, swung on, cracked through on the left side, a base hit for Eric Jones. That's his first of the ball game as he takes the long round around first base, waits a moment, then heads back to the bag, and the leadoff runner is aboard for the Kettleers.
Nice hit by Eric Jones, getting out in front of that pitch, hit it hard enough for it to go through the left side, and the Kettleers with the leadoff runner aboard. 1-run ball game. It feels like this ball game has been a lot happening, but we're just cooking along here into the 4th inning, and the Kettleers will try and get one back, as it was this man right here, Jacob Goldfarb, that started the rally to score 2 in the 2nd.
First pitch to Goldfarb, swung on and tapped foul right behind him, an 0-1 count. 3-2. Harwich leads it in the bottom of the 4th. One man on for the Kettleers. That's Eric Jones on first with Jacob Goldfarb, the lefty Oregon Duck, at the plate. He gets in his tall stance. He doesn't bend his knees too much, puts his Right foot just beyond the left. Here's the pitch. It's a fastball hitting the outside corner for strike 2 as the Harwich infield comes in at double play depth. Some shadows casting in right over the third baseman, Aaron Shunk. Pretty much the rest of the field is all sun. An 0-2 count to Goldfarb. Here's the pitch, just low for ball 1.
There's that curveball from Stallings that we were talking with some of the Harwich broadcasters before the game. They told us that's his out pitch. That's his out pitch that he's developed, and he looks to go with it again with 2 strikes, it looks like.
1 ball, 2 strikes, no one out. The pitch swung on and chopped right to the third baseman, Shunk. He flips to second for 1, now to first, but it's not in time. The speedy Goldfarb, flashing his wheels for the second time today, beats out the throw, and Cotuit keeps a runner on.
Good job by Goldfarb getting down that line to preserve at least a base runner for Cotuit. Unfortunately, bounces into the fielder's choice, but Kettleers will still have a tying run on the base paths. And this man, Bo Brundage, impressed me in the last at-bat with that good opposite field RBI double.
Brundage digs in. Stallings checks on the runner. Goldfarb back just in time. Getting that pearly white Kettleers uniform, a little bit brown towards the bottom. Kettleers are in those home whites with the pinstripes up and down. Road grays for Harwich. As Stallings sends a pitch low in the dirt for ball 1. And the story of the season so far for Harwich has been the pitching. Coming into this season, 38 runs allowed on the year. That's the fewest on the Cape. And also 38 runs scored on the year for Harwich. That's also the fewest on the Cape. Here's the 1-2. A foul tip straight back. Count moves to 1-1. They had a duo of pitchers head off to Team USA. Zach Hess and Kyle Bronovich, both of whom made up a trio of Mariners that teamed up for a no-hitter against the Bourne Braves in their Sunday doubleheader. That was a 1-0 win for Harwich. Much more on that to come in the 5th. Here's the 1-1. It's through on the right side. A ground ball spills into the outfield. Now Goldfarb charging into third. He gets there without a throw, and that's a single from Bo Brundage. Runners on the corners for the Kets with just 1 out.
Once again, Bo Brundage showing that he can hit to all fields. He went oppo his first at-bat. That time he's able to pull one through the right side of the infield. And the Kettleers finding good offense out of Bo. Here in the middle of the season, nearly a 300 batter. And now the birthday boy, Corey Wood, with a good chance here to plate some runs.
Certainly a chance for Corey Wood, who had a loud fly out to center field back in the 2nd. Remember, the wind is blowing out. It says it's 16 miles an hour. So a lot of routine fly balls going back to the track as Wood takes a look at ball 1, just a little bit low. Celebrating his 21st birthday today. He has safely established himself as the Kettleers' starting second baseman. And number 2 digs in with runners at the corners and 1 man out in the bottom of the 4th. Here's the pitch from Stallings, swung on and belted out into right field, but it's down just foul. Just about 5 inches foul as Corey Wood takes the slow walk back down the first base line to home plate, picks up his bat, inspects it for a second. Had a chance to send in the game-tying run there, but he steps back in with a 1-1 count. Stallings shakes off the first signal, likes the second one better, and he kicks and fires. This one swung on by Corey Wood and sent out foul on the third base side right over the grandstand, and the count moves to 1-2. Corey Wood in the Kettleers' last matchup against Chatham was 0 for 1, but with 2 sack bunts. The Kettleers scored 2 of their 6 runs on safety squeeze situations, with Bo Brundage sending in Peyton Burdick. Here's the 1-2, a breaking ball that hooks inside, and the count runs to 2-2. Light breeze comes over Lowell Park. Still a beautiful sunny day with a great crowd on hand here on Boy and Girl Scout Day. Here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss. He got him on strikes. And Corey Wood will take a seat with Peyton Burdick looking to take advantage of the runner in scoring position. Just the 2nd strikeout of the day there for Stallings, who at Tennessee was not known as a strikeout guy. Just 37 strikeouts in his 11 starts this past season for the Volunteers, but he has been known as a strikeout guy with Harwich. As Sam said earlier, the put-out pitch, the curveball, has led to that. He sends in a curveball for strike one on the inside corner on Peyton Burdick. Burdick has a single and an RBI already today. That came back in a 2-run bottom of the second for the Kettleers, but now they trail 3-2 with runners on the corners, 2 out. An 0-1 count to Burdick. Here's the pitch. It's in the dirt for ball 1. Number 12, Peyton Burdick, adjusting the batting gloves, now stepping back in. A righty-righty matchup here between the tall, lanky Stallings and the 6-foot-tall Peyton Burdick. Here comes the 1-1. It's a little bit high for ball 2. Harwich leading the East Division with a 7-6-1 record. They look to keep that pace here with this 1-run lead. Stallings sending in the 2-1, swung on, and it's a chopper, but off the foot of Peyton Burdick. A foul ball, and the count runs to 2-2. Burdick has been hit by 4 pitches on the season. That leads the Cape League, tied with Will Robertson, a fellow outfielder who has also been hit by 4 pitches this season, both of whom were hit by 2 pitches on Sunday against Chatham. 2-2 count with 2 outs, runners on the corners. Kettleers need a run here in the 4th. Stallings comes set, kicks and fires. Swung on by Burdick, and it's chopped on the third base side, picked up by Shunk. Throw to first is in time for out number 3. A nice play there from the third baseman out of Georgia, Aaron Shunk, and he keeps his Mariners on top, 3-2, entering the top of the 5th. Sam Niederman will have the play-by-play on the other side right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network.
Top of the 5th inning here at Lowell Park. Zane Collins will be back out on the mound for Cotuit in his 2nd inning of relief as the Kettleers trail the Harwich Mariners 3-2. Sam Niederman alongside Sam Brief. Happy to have you with us as it will be 9-1-2 due up for Harwich, starting out with a left fielder out of Indiana University, Matt Gorski, who will dig in. Takes a long look at his black Marucci wood bat, and now the right-handed batter will step in to face the southpaw Zane Collins, who whips in a first pitch sinker that's tailed off to the left side foul. 0-1 the count on Gorski, leadoff man. 0 for 1 today. He struck out swinging his first time up. Collins is 0-1, runs way outside, 1-1. Let's get some trivia for you here after the next pitch. It'll be time for
Trivia time.
5th inning trivia. Collins is 1-1, ripped down the left field line. That ball called foul down there at third base by Tom Ryberg. It was close, but it's a 1-2 count. So here's a trivia question. Are you ready? On Sunday, the Harwich Mariners threw a combined no-hitter against the Bourne Braves. It was the first no-hitter of the season. Mind you, it was in a 7-inning game. With this in mind, who was the last Cotuit pitcher to throw a no-hitter? Was it A, Chad Bell in 2009, B, Ron Darling in 1980, C, Chris Ellis in 2013, or D, Ryan Braun in 2002? Collins gets a punch out of Gorski. He goes down swinging on a good slider, and that's the first out of the inning. So who was the last Cotuit pitcher to throw a no-hitter? A, Chad Bell, B, Ron Darling, C, Chris Ellis, or D, Ryan Braun? That's your trivia question. You can check Twitter and try and vote in our poll at Cotuit Kettleers. Leadoff batter is Cam Thompson, who will step in with 1 out and nobody on. Collins is 1-0. Yanked over to second base. On one hop, it's taken by Corey Wood. He'll throw over to first for the second out of the inning. So how about that? Cotuit has some no-hitter history, and those are some pretty interesting names. You got Ron Darling on there.
Ron Darling, certainly a mighty fine pitcher, but all the way back in 1980.
You have Ryan Braun out of UNLV, not the batter for the Milwaukee Brewers.
No, we threw that in, but did he throw a no-hitter?
Yeah.
There are two notable Ryan Brauns that have come through the Cape League. Of course, the Ryan Braun most of you at home probably know on the Milwaukee Brewers played for Brewster. But we had our Ryan Braun out of UNLV.
2-0 from Collins is a sinker that's low. 3-0. The count on Chris Gallant. 2 outs and nobody on, and Collins struggling to find the strike zone. Lefty winds up fast and cranks in another fastball that'll go down at the shins. It's a 4-pitch walk for Collins here with 2 outs in the top of the 5th.
That's the first walk of the ball game for either side. We had 2 starting pitchers in Garrett Stallings and Seth Schumann, who both don't walk a lot of guys. Zane Collins, a little more susceptible to the walk. He's more of a power pitcher. And that time, we see the first walk of the game.
So he'll be out of the stretch. Gallant takes his lead at first, and first the lefty will check on him. Zach Bierman with that tan Easton first base mitt, able to catch it on the other end. As a new batter is Aaron Shunk, third baseman out of Georgia, who made a nice play to end the last inning. First pitch from Collins is hit in the air, center field. That ball will drop down for a little base hit. Brundage will get it into the cutoff quickly. As Gallen moves up to second base, it's a 2-out single that'll keep the rally going for Harwich. So Aaron Shunk has pieced together 2 hits today. His just 3 hits on the season, coming in with only 4 at-bats. And now there'll be runners on first and second, 2 outs, and Tanner Morris, the shortstop out of Virginia, will come to the dish. Cotuit down 3-2 against the Harwich Mariners. Nobody holding on at first. Collins' first pitch hit in the air to left center field by Morris. Brundage galloping over. A diving effort won't be enough to make the play. That ball is down. It's near the wall, and 2 runs will come in to score for Harwich. It is a 2-out double for Tanner Morris. The Mariners tack on 2 more. It's a 5-2 lead here at Lowell Park.
Man, that was a rocket right off the bat of Morris. Good opposite field hitting from him. And Bo Brundage almost made the play of the year out in center. I think he used the word galloping. He really was on his horse out into the alley. Made a nice vertical, horizontal combo of a dive. But the ball just got past him, scoring 2 runs, and it looks like that's going to be it for Zane Collins, who got his bell rung a little bit there.
So the walk proves haunting for Collins with 2 outs, as a 2-run double from Tanner Morris gives Harwich a 3-run lead. Pitching coach Jerry Weinstein comes out, and we've got a pitching change. We'll have it for you on the other side of this break here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. New pitcher on for Cotuit. That'll be it for Zane Collins. The right-hander Matthew Gauthier will enter the game. 2 outs here in the top of the 5th inning. Harwich already has 2 runs home. Tanner Morris with a 2-run double with 2 outs in this inning. It all started with a 4-pitch walk from Zane Collins and then a single from Aaron Shunk and then the big double from Morris. And Jerry Weinstein said, all right, that's enough. So Matthew Gauthier will come into the game. Kettleers trailing 5-2. And it will be Danny Casals to come up out of the University of Maine. He is 0 for 1 today with a run scored. 2 outs and a runner on second, and Gauthier, the right-hander out of NC State, will get the ball. Immediately coming into this one, working out of the stretch. He comes set, his first pitch to Casals, low and in for ball 1. Harwich came into tonight's game scoring only 3 runs in their last 4 contests. They have 5 through 4 2/3 innings so far. Enough for a 3-run lead. Gauthier's 1-0 turned off foul on the left side by Casals, and that'll even up the count. Kettleers trying to make it 2 wins in a row after beating the Chatham A's down on the Lower Cape 6-1 in the first of an abbreviated doubleheader on Sunday. Second game was fogged out and will be made up at a to-be-determined date. Casals rips one into left field. That one's down for a base hit. Goldfarb's going to throw it in quickly. That'll hold the runner at third. Morris has to dive back into third with Oviedo covering. So first and third with 2 outs is another single. That time from Danny Casals will keep the Harwich 5th inning alive.
How about this hitting in the 2 through 5 spots of Harwich today? That has been dynamite. I'm counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits from Chris Galland all the way down to Danny Casals, who's now for 2 for 3 with a single and a triple. They are ringing up this Cotuit pitching staff. The bats have awoken for Harwich. It's probably a welcome sight for Mariners fans. Unfortunately, the renaissance of Harwich hitting is now happening on Lowell Park.
Logan Driscoll will step in. Runners on the corners. 2 outs here in the inning. And a 1-0 count as Gauthier misses low. Thomas Dillard, the new catcher today, normally a DH or a left fielder, looking over to his third base dugout for a sign from Jerry Weinstein. Now Gauthier comes set. Here's his 1-0. That's a good fastball on the inside corner. Strike 1 on Driscoll. Driscoll reached on an error back in the second, grounded to second back in the 4th. Mariners leading 5-2 over the Kettleers. Gauthier's 1-1. Runner at first on the move. That one will get under the glove of Eric Jones. Hit on the left side, through into left field. And that is going to bring home 1 more run as Harwich has put on 3 here in the 5th inning. It's 6-4, and the 2-out rally continues.
With 2 outs, Harwich had no one on. Chris Galland coming up. Zane Collins walked him, and then 4 consecutive hits to follow that have plated another 3 runs in this inning for Harwich. I know it's your saying, Sam, walks always come back to bite. And in this case, that's certainly the case. With 3 extra runs coming in, that certainly could have been avoided.
So now first and second with 2 outs, and Gauthier still out of the stretch, facing Ray Gill out of the University of Miami, who fouls off a first pitch fastball. Gill 0 for 2 today with 2 swinging strikeouts. Gauthier would love that here. Zane Collins started out the inning with 2 quick outs and then a 4-pitch walk, which sparked this rally. 3 runs already home for the Mariners, who are up 6-2. The 0-1, Gill taps it high on the left side, taken by Jones at third. He'll throw over to first in time, and that's the 3rd and final out of the inning. But the Harwich Mariners string together a 2-out rally. They put up 3 here in the top of the 5th inning, and they lead 6-2 in the middle of the 5th. We'll be right back. You're listening to Cotuit Kettleers Baseball here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Cotuit Kettleers trailing here in the bottom of the 5th against the Harwich Mariners. They're down 6-2. It will be the bottom of the order to start things off. Adam Oviedo, and then we'll turn it over to Michael Tolia and Zach Bierman. Kettleers trivia. We asked the question last inning. Harwich Mariners threw a combined no-hitter against the Bourne Braves. It was the first no-hitter of the season. With this in mind, who was the last Cotuit pitcher to throw a no-hitter? Was it A, Chad Bell, B, Ron Darling, C, Chad Ellis, or D, Ryan Braun? The answer, which 40% of you got correct, A, Chad Bell out of Wright State in 2009, the last Cotuit Kettleer pitcher to throw a no-hitter. Adam Oviedo will start things off as he takes a fastball at the shoulders for ball 1 from Garrett Stallings. Bell, he threw that no-no on July 9th or 12th, 2009 against the Chatham A's at Veterans Field. It was a 121-pitch outing. Oviedo lines one straight up the box, and that rolls into center field for a leadoff base hit. And the Kettleers have a man on here to start the bottom of the 5th inning.
So here's a funky thing about that Chad Bell no-hitter. Chatham actually scored 2 runs in that game. It was an 8-2 win for Cotuit. There were a few errors for the Kettleers in that game, 5 walks that Chad Bell threw. So 2 runs came in to score, but still a no-no. Royals second baseman Whit Merrifield was on that team for Chatham, so some firepower in the lineup, and Chad Bell threw the no-no. Now he's in Atlanta, pitching for the Braves.
Yeah. So Michael Tolia will dig in with the runner on first and nobody out as he takes a strike on the outside corner. Where was Bell before?
Detroit.
Detroit,
yep.
Okay. There we go.
From Cotuit to Detroit to Atlanta.
That's pretty good. Another major leaguer for the Kettleers. So many major league alumni. As Tolia takes a breaking pitch in the dirt, it gets away from Driscoll, and that will allow Oviedo to move up to second base. So a free 90 feet for Oviedo out there, and he'll get into scoring position with still nobody out.
So if you're the Kettleers now, you just have to keep chipping away. Remember, last week against Orleans, the Kettleers were down 4 runs in the 7th inning and then scrapped together a 5-run 7th to come back. So this team is no stranger to comeback wins.
The 1-1 to Tolia, down and away, and that's ball 2. A hitter's count here for the big designated hitter out of UCLA. Looking to cut into this 4-run deficit here in the bottom of the 5th. Adam Oviedo led things off with a single. He's on second after the wild pitch. Stallings comes set. Here's the 2-1. It catches the high outside corner. A 90-mile-an-hour fastball for strike 2. 6-2, Harwich on top of Cotuit. They scored 3 runs with 2 outs in the top of the 5th. Stallings set, right at the chest, looks back at second. Now ready for the 2-2. High and away, very similar to the last pitch, but not quite in the zone, and the count runs full. Great crowd on hand here at Lowell Park as we're really getting into the thick of summer here on Cape Cod. Of course, 4th of July coming up next week. That's going to be a big traveling week, expecting some huge crowds here at home. Stallings' payoff pitch, swing and a miss from Tolia. He was unable to catch up with that fastball low in the dirt. It was actually a foul tip back into the mid of Driscoll. He hangs on, and that's out number 1.
Yeah, Stallings has hung in there pretty well. He got rung up a little bit, but some of that was due to some errors from Harwich. Cotuit has yet to really explode against him, and we'll see if they can try and chase him out of this game and see what the Harwich bullpen has. Of course, we know this is the best pitching staff on the Cape, so I'm assuming any arms they have warming up in there are pretty solid, but Cotuit would be willing to take a chance.
There's the first pitch to Bierman. It's down at the knees for ball 1. Harwich's pitching has been dominant this season. Best statistically on the Cape, a 2.59 ERA, holding opponents to a 2.05 average. Take that for data. That's some pretty good marks. Here's Stallings, who comes set the 1-0 to Bierman. Right down the pipe, 94-mile-an-hour fastball for strike 1.
His tail in you.
Kettleers trail by 4. Bottom of the 5th inning. Oviedo's on second. 1-1 count to Bierman. way outside. Here's a snap back down to second base as Oviedo is able to dive back in safely. Driscoll was able to pump that thing down there to second, and Danny Casals was almost able to apply the tag, but Oviedo lucky to get back in there safe. He was taking a hefty lead off, and the snapback throw from behind the plate by Logan Driscoll. But he remains out there. A 2-1 count on Bierman. Here's the pitch from Stallings, hit high in the air. This one a rainbow into right field. Gallen coming in for it, but Casals will call him off as the second baseman makes the backpedaling catch, and that's out number 2.
And Bierman with a perfectly fine swing there, but just got a little too far under it. Mike Roberts has been really complimentary. In our pregame chat with him, he said he wishes most of his hitters were as consistent with their swings as Zach Bierman. You always know what you're going to get. And when he gets a hold of the ball, he can send it a mile into the sky. That time, just too far under it.
So 2 outs and a runner in scoring position for Thomas Dillard, who takes a strike on the outer half of the plate. Dilly 0 for 2 today. Grounded out to short his last time up in the 3rd inning. A 4-run deficit for Cotuit at home. Harwich tacked on 3 in the last frame. The 0-1 from Stallings, ripped on the right side into right field for a base hit. Oviedo will speed around third. The throw from Gallen to the plate, not in time as Oviedo slides in, and the Kettleers cut this down to a 3-run game. A 2-out RBI knock from Thomas Dillard, and it's 6-3.
Love the aggression on the base pass there. Mike Roberts waving Oviedo down all the way from second. And a lot of times you'll see someone waved in from second on a ball hit a little deeper into the outfield. That was just a little flare into shallow right field, but Mike Roberts trusting the speed of Oviedo, also knowing the situation. The Kettleers really need a run bad to claw back into this game. And now cutting the lead to 6-3, they're in business.
Dillard on first. He's got some life for the Kets here in the bottom of 5, and it will be Eric Jones who takes a good changeup on the outside corner for strike 1. Just the 3rd run that's come across the score for Cotuit against Garrett Stallings. Harwich is back their starter with good run support today. 6 runs for a 6-3 lead, but Cotuit gets one that they needed back as Eric Jones takes another off-speed pitch that nearly brushed him back on the inner side of the batter's box, and it's 1-1. Lowell Park finally was something to clap about as Cotuit scored 2 in the bottom of the 2nd to take a 2-1 lead. Dillard's lead at first. Here's the 1-1 to Jones, way upstairs. Another snapback throw from Driscoll, not able to get Dillard at first. As the George Mason catcher is showing some pop back there.
They must coach him up well at George Mason. That one was from his knees, just rearing it all the way back. The ball near his right ear, and just gunning down with a perfect throw. The Cotuit runners were a little too speedy both times in this inning, with Oviedo at second, now Dillard at first. But, boy, you got to be careful with Driscoll.
Hitters count for Eric Jones, his 2-1, yanked over on the left side, picked out by Morris. Long throw to first. It's in, not in time. As the first baseman was pulled off the bag, Eichhoff stretched out for that one. The ball was in his glove definitely before Jones got there, but he was taken off the bag. And that will allow the inning to continue for Cotuit. Eric Jones reaches first safely, and now it looks like Steve Englert's going to go out to first base and state his case to Jay Dion, who made the call.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he might have a case. I'm not entirely sure. Hard to see from our vantage point without X-ray vision. Or I guess we wouldn't need X-ray vision. We need binocular eyes.
Wow.
And now Englert getting tossed from the game.
Jay Dion throws Steve Englert out of this ball game. And now Rick Emerson, the home plate umpire, will trot out to try and build a wall between Dion and Englert, as Englert yelling over to Dion, who will now take a shield behind his third base crewmate in Tom Ryberg, and Steve Englert has been ejected from this ball game. He's still jawing with Rick Emerson on his way back to the dugout. So Steve Englert has been tossed, the 16-year veteran Cape manager, thrown out of this game with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Did not like the call as Eric Jones reaches base on that infield single. It was a close play at the bag. Jay Dion, the first base umpire, saying that Nate Eichhoff was taken off the bag after a throw from Tanner Morris was high, and that allows the inning to continue for Cotuit. So Steve Englert will come out of the dugout, and now he's walking amongst civilians on the right side here, going past the first base grandstand, past the Harwich broadcast booth behind home plate.
So where's he going to go now? That's my question, because, in the majors when a manager is ejected, he just goes back in the clubhouse. But on the Cape League, I don't know where exactly he's going to go.
Yeah, he could go down on School Street to the Kettle Ho, I guess, or I'm not sure. Sam's now left his broadcast perch. He's going to go back and look out our press box window and see where Englert's going in the parking lot. Most of the time, road teams drive themselves here to Lowell Park. But after all of that, we're back underway here in the bottom of the fifth as Jacob Goldfarb will step in. Steve Englert has been ejected. Runners on first and second. 2 outs here in the bottom of 5, and the Kettleers down 6-3. Goldfarb facing Stallings. He's ahead with a 1-0 count. Runners taking big leads with nobody holding on. Here's the pitch from Stallings. Big cut and a miss from Goldfarb, and it's 1-1.
All I saw was Englert walking in the parking lot. He was walking with someone else, maybe with his wife. But yeah, he was just taking a stroll down in the parking lot. And he's been ejected, our first ejection of the season.
How about that? 1-1 count to Goldfarb, the leg lift and the pitch from Stallings. It gets away from Driscoll behind the plate. In fact, that hits the batter. So the bases will be loaded with 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth. A wayward pitch from Garrett Stallings hits Jacob Goldfarb. And that'll allow everybody to move up. So runners on first, second, and third, and Bo Brundage will come to the plate. It was really interesting as we saw Goldfarb trot down to first base. Driscoll thought that was a wild pitch, but it was a dead ball. So here we go. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Bo Brundage grounds one straight to short. Tanner Morris will take it. He'll take the short play to second base and get the force there. And all of a sudden, the threat is ended as we head to the 6th. Kettleers still trailing. They get 1 run across. It's 6-3 in favor of Harwich here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network.
Back here in Cotuit, inning number 6, Kettleers trail 6-3. A wild 5th inning featuring just 1 run for the Kettleers. They stranded 3. Bo Brundage was up with 2 outs and the bases loaded, but grounded out to short. A wild inning that saw Steve Englert, the manager for the Harwich Mariners, get ejected. Our first ejection here at Lowell Park this season. Englert in his 16th season in Harwich, one of the more legendary Cape League managers. It was an Eric Jones ground ball to the third base side. The throw to first was in time, but the first base umpire, Jay Dion, was ruling that Nate Eichhoff, the first baseman for Harwich, as Eichhoff, who's at the plate, sends a first pitch foul. He ruled that Eichhoff's right cleat was just off the base. So Jones was safe. Englert took exception, argued at length, got ejected, and now he's in the parking lot. Not sure exactly who's calling the shots now for Harwich. Like most Cape League teams, they have a long list of assistant coaches, so could be managing by committee right now. 0-1 to Eichhoff, swung on and sent foul down the third base side. About the same look as that first foul ball. Eichhoff still looking for his first hit of the season. 0 for 2 today, 0 for 27 on the year. So Steve Englert out of the ball game. As the 0-2 comes in, it's a bit high for ball 1. He had been in Harwich since 1998. when he started off as an assistant, was promoted in 2003 to manager. Here comes the 1-2 to Eichhoff. It's tapped foul to keep it at a 1-2 count. He's been an assistant coach at a few D1 schools: VCU, Richmond, Holy Cross, Northeastern, Boston College, but making a name for himself out here on the Cape. Here's the 1-2. Fastball outside, ball 2. 6-3 is your score. We're in the top of the 6th between the Kettleers and the Mariners. It's been a wild game so far. 15 hits between the two sides, 3 errors. Here's the 2-2 to Eichhoff. Just a bit high and outside, and the count runs full. Matthew Gauthier, the third pitcher we've seen for Cotuit today. Seth Schumann led things off, then Zane Collins came in relief, and now we have Gauthier. Here's the payoff pitch. Swung on, and again, a popper foul. The count stays to 3-2. Gauthier, a rising junior at NC State. Originally from Quebec, Montreal. He drove all the way here from Montreal. He's the first Canadian player in NC State baseball history. Here's the 3-2. Set high and outside, ball 4, and a leadoff walk drawn by Nate Eichhoff. So now Matt Gorski will come up for the Mariners. And fans, remember that today is Boy and Girl Scout Day here at Lowell Park, recognizing all the Boy and Girl Scouts in the area for their hard work and dedication to their communities. So we had a nice pregame setup with Gorski fouling off the first pitch. A lot of Boy and Girl Scouts got to come onto the field before the game, get some autographs, get some high fives in with the Kettleers. We'll have another special event on July 6th with Heroes in the Park, honoring all active and retired military personnel. Of course, July 4th smattered in there as Gorski smatters one into center field. Back is Brundage. He makes the catch for out number 1. 4th of July should be a fun time here at Lowell Park. We'll have the parade here in Cotuit, and then the hitting contest here at Lowell Park. Sam and I will be on the call for the hitting contest. Not participating. You wouldn't want us participating because we would win. Maybe you would win.
Man, I am actually licking my chops to get in the cage.
Yeah.
You're out there at BP today. I want to get in the cage and take some hacks.
I'll make some phone calls for you.
Yeah.
Here's Cam Thompson. Takes a first pitch outside, ball 1. 6-3 Harwich, top of the 6th. The East leading Mariners looking for their 8th win of the season. Same with Cotuit, they're 7-5. Big swing and a miss for strike 1 on Cam Thompson. He's 1 for 3 today with a double in the 3rd. Came around to score one of the Mariners' 6 runs today. The bats have come alive for Harwich here at Lowell Park as the 1-1 is a fastball outside for ball 2. They had not been scoring, kind of limped into this one from a scoring perspective. In their previous 4 games before coming in, they had scored just 3 runs. Here's a ground ball on the right side. Gets past Jones, gets past Oviedo, and it spills into left field for a base hit. Another runner on for Harwich, and now they're in business. Runner on second, runner on first, with 1 out here in the 6th.
That's another one that we've seen today that has just gotten over or under the infielder's glove in Cotuit, and that's rolled as a hit. I think that Jones and Oviedo each got a piece of that, trying to make an effort for that ball, but unfortunately, unable to make a clean play, and once again, Harwich with runners on the base pass, and we got a pitching change.
Jerry Weinstein coming out. He takes the ball from Gauthier. That'll be it for the right-hander out of NC State. New pitcher on for the Kettleers. We'll have that for you in a moment, but for now, it's 6-3 Harwich, top of the 6th. We'll be back with more right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here at Loa Park, new pitcher on for the Kettleers, and for the first time this season, we get a look at our new tall right-hander out of UC San Diego, Ted Stuka, 6'7", 225, a rising junior originally from Newport Beach, California. This past season at UC San Diego, a nice place to go to school. Certainly he had 15 appearances, mostly in relief, a 3.69 ERA, 37 strikeouts to 20 walks. This past year in the draft, Stuka was picked by the Baltimore Orioles in the 39th round of the draft. And this is his first appearance as a Cotuit Kettleer, big number 48. Digs in and he'll face off against the red-hot two-hitter for the Mariners, Chris Galland. 2 runners on for Harwich. A runner on second, that's Nate Eichhoff, and on first is Cam Thompson. They lead it by 3 in the top of the 6th. Stuka comes set. And here's his first pitch as a Kettleer. Galland shows bunt, pulls it back. It was a bit low for ball 1. Infield pitching in at double play depth. Oviedo and Wood shaded towards second base. The third baseman, Eric Jones, playing in on the infield, ready to crash in on a bunt attempt. Stuka set. Out of the stretch. Here's the pitch, swung on and tapped out into right center field. It's down for a base hit and 2 hops into the wall. Coming around third and scoring is Eichhoff. Also coming around third and scoring is Cam Thompson. Into third base is Chris Galland with the second triple of the day for Harwich. They've broken it open. It's 8-3.
Once again, Harwich with a big knock, and that was Chris Galland, and there was no way anybody was getting to that ball in deep right field. Clearing the base paths, and unfortunately, it's just been that kind of day for the Kettleers on the mound. Haven't been able to get these balls past the Harwich hitters, and they've connected multiple times to clear the bases and drive in multiple runs, and right there, another case of it. 5-run game.
So Harwich came in with 3 runs in their last 4 games. No triples on the season today. They've already scored 8 with 2 triples just today in the first 5 and a third. Ball 1 comes in to Aaron Shunk, and it's a 1-0 count with 1 out. Harwich 8, Cotuit 3. We're in the top of the 6th. The Mariners have exploded 8 runs on 10 hits. Cotuit with 3 runs on 7 hits. Remember, coming into today, Harwich had scored just 38 runs on the season, the lowest total on the Cape. Here's the 1-0, swung on, a chopper on the third base side, and hailed by Eric Jones. Fires across the diamond for out number 2, and Jones did a good job of making sure Chris Galland stayed put at third. Now 2 outs for Stuka as he looks to put this inning to bed. Tanner Morris, another Georgia Bulldog in the middle of this Harwich lineup. He digs in to face off against Stuka. The first look at the lanky right-hander who kicks and deals. This one swung on. It's a flare out into left field, but right there to make the play is Jacob Goldfarb, an inning-ending catch. But Harwich strikes for 2 more on a triple from Chris Galland, and the Mariners lead at 8-3, heading into the home half of the 6th on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here in Cotuit, 8-3 Harwich, bottom of the 6th. Garrett Stallings back on to work on the mound for Harwich. He's been dynamite today. And fans, what's donated here stays here. All blood that is donated to Cape Cod Healthcare stays on Cape Cod to help the lives of your friends, family, and neighbors. Learn more about donating blood, platelets, or hosting a blood drive over at capecodhealth.org/blood center. The birthday boy, Corey Wood, will lead things off here in the 6th. He's the 7-hitter for the Kettleers. To follow is Peyton Burdick and Adam Oviedo. 8-3 Harwich, bottom of the 6th. Kettleers need some offense, and they need it bad, as Corey Wood takes a first pitch strike, 90-mile-an-hour heater from Garrett Stallings, who's gone 5 innings strong for Harwich, giving up 7 hits, 3 runs. He hasn't been his best, but he's been effective enough. As the Mariners lead it by 5, he sends a ball in at the shoes of Corey Wood, and it's a 1-1 count. Here's the delivery and the pitch, fouled straight back. The count moves to 1-2. Shadows starting to creep into the left side of the field here at Lowell Park. 6:46 Eastern Standard Time. The sun's setting, so shadows continuing to creep on the field as ball 2 comes in low. And it's a 2-2 count for Corey Wood. Full slate of action on the Cape tonight. We'll have some score updates for you in just a minute. But first, Stallings is set for the 2-2. Here's his delivery and the pitch. Ring him up. He gets a fastball pinned on the inside corner. He sets down Corey Wood. And to start the inning, Garrett Stallings with another strikeout. So it's 8-3 here, Harwich on top. Over at McKeon Park, maybe the hottest team on the Cape is the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. They've won 3 straight. They're up 1-0 on the West-leading Wareham Gatemen in the bottom of the 3rd. Another red-hot team is the YD Red Sox. They're up 9-3 on Orleans in the 5th. And this one, a ground ball just foul off the bat of Burdick. It was a line shot down the third base line, an 0-1 count. 5-5 between the Bourne Braves and Brewster Whitecaps. That's in the top of the 6th at Stony Brook Field, and yet to begin at Veterans Field is Falmouth and Chatham. Here's the 0-1 to Burdick, just a bit outside. A 1-1 count now to Peyton, who's 1 for 2 today with a single and an RBI back in the 2nd, then a ground out in the 4th. 1-1 count with 1 out, empty base paths. Here's the pitch, pinned on the outside corner for strike 2. Garrett Stallings has 4 strikeouts on the day. Has worked a good mix of the fastball and curveball. Here's the 1-2. This time a curveball skips in the dirt for ball 2. And Stallings already ready for the 2-2. This one pinned on the outside corner, a called strike 3. And Peyton Burdick heads back to the dugout. That's the 5th strikeout of the day for Garrett Stallings. We're seeing some of his best stuff late. So Adam Oviedo will look to spark a 2-out rally for Cotuit. He's 1 for 2 today with a single, and he came around to score in the 5th. Again, the Kettleers trail 8-3 in the bottom of the 6th on this Tuesday evening here at Lowell Park. Stallings sets, kicks, and deals, and a fastball straight down the middle for an 0-1 count. Oviedo, the 9-hitter. After this, we'll kick it to the top of the lineup with Michael Tolia leading things off. Stallings set for the 0-1, forces a swing and a miss of Oviedo, and that's strike 2. Stallings a chance to strike out the side. Has 5 strikeouts on the day, no walks. He has not walked anyone in 3 starts this season. Here's the 0-2 with 2 outs. Just outside. He misses, and it's a 1-2 count. Stallings already set. Oviedo digs in, taps home plate, and gets in his stance. Here's the 1-2 from Stallings. Swing and a miss, a drop third strike. Driscoll fires to first to get the out. And Garrett Stallings follows some Harwich offense by striking out the side. And he keeps the Mariners on top 8-3, entering the top of the 7th right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here at Lowell Park, it's 8-3 Harwich, top of the 7th. Ted Stuka back on to work for the Kettleers after Garrett Stallings struck out the side. In the bottom of the 6th, Corey Wood, Peyton Burdick, Adam Oviedo all went down swinging. And now here comes Danny Casals to lead things off for Harwich. Takes the first pitch outside for ball 1. So we get more of Ted Stuka here. Again, a new pitcher for the Kettleers. He's got a nice baseball lineage. His father, Martin, was also a baseball player over at UCLA. Here's the 1-0 to Casals. He swings at a ghost for strike 1. Stuka, no stranger to summer ball. He played for the Wilson Tobbs in North Carolina at the Coastal Plain League in 2017, and then in 2016 played for the Chillicothe Mudcats of the Mink League. That was in Missouri. Here's the 1-1. It's in the dirt for ball 2, so it seems like Stuka's a bit of a summer ball junkie.
Yeah, the Mink League is, I believe, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas.
Yep, that's an all-caps
Yep.
Here comes the 2-1. It's outside for ball 3. This is Danny Casals of the University of Maine. He's red hot today. 2 hits, a single, and a triple. Here comes the 3-1 from Stuka. It's chopped foul down the third base side, and the count runs full.
It's going to be interesting because the Kettleers only have a handful more of arms that are coming in from the College World Series. Josh Bergman from Washington, Bryce Bonnin, who's pitching with Arkansas right now in Game 1 of the College World Series against Oregon State.
Tonight?
Yeah, that starts tonight, so his Razorbacks will be in action. But then you also have, as I believe there's time called on the field because
the home plate
Matthew
umpire
McCourt and another Kettleers player are playing pitch and catch down there in deep left field near the bullpen.
Yeah, Rick Emerson spotted that at the corner of his eye. All I could see is number 16, McCourt. He's out in the bullpen, not exactly sure why.
Just wandering out there, they're playing catch, warming up a player. I can't quite tell who that is out there for Cotuit, but
payoff pitch to Casals runs outside, and a leadoff walk.
But it'll be interesting to see how this Cotuit pitching staff ends up working out because Andrew Baker, another left-handed arm who is certain to be a bullpen option for Cotuit, is coming from Florida. Bonnin, a right-hander out of Arkansas, and then Bergman, a right-hander out of Washington. So a couple more arms to be factored in. But really, from what we've seen out of the Cotuit pitchers, this is what we're going to be riding with for the majority of the season.
Logan Driscoll gets set, takes a first pitch strike. The George Mason Patriot. John Baker, certainly a formidable arm, seems to be the Kettleers' ace. He was dynamite again in his start against Chatham.
Yeah, leading the league now in innings pitched and strikeouts. Baker, 18 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts.
And just 1 walk. Stuka kicks and deals, runs a bit inside for ball 1. So John Baker out of Ball State seems to figure as the ace for this Kettleers pitching staff. You got to imagine Zane Collins, a solid lefty, right up behind him in the 2 or 3 spot. Stuka sets for the 1-1 against Driscoll. He kicks and deals, swung on by Driscoll, poked out into center. Going back is Brundage at the track, makes an overhead catch as he falls down and fires the ball into the cutoff man Oviedo for a loud out number 1. Ball that looked like a little flare off the bat, but just kept carrying and carrying in the wind. But a nice athletic play by Brundage.
Brundage making another great play out there in center field. He's proven to be a plus defender as well out there in center. He had to run a long way to get to that one. Turn the hips, get back and run straight. Don't backpedal. Just classic outfield technique, and he did a good job making the concentration there near the 397 sign.
Ray Gill next up for the Mariners. 8-3 Harwich. Top of the 7th, they've got a man on first. That's Casals. First pitch foul, an 0-1 count. Talking about this Kettleer pitching rotation. Baker, Collins. You got to imagine the Cotuit native, Luke Chevalier, might figure into that picture. He's been solid this year with 2 very workmanlike efforts in his 2 starts. An 0-1 count from Stuka to Ray Gill. Here's the pitch, a little bit outside for ball 1. Gill out of the University of Miami, 37th round selection of the Oakland A's back in the 2017 draft. He digs in with a 1-1 count. The pitch runs outside, and that's ball 2, 91-mile-an-hour heater from Ted Stuka. Runner takes his lead at first. That's Danny Casals. And Stuka comes set. Casals goes. Here's the pitch. It's a strike. The throw from Dillard. One hops into the mitt of Corey Wood. About a second after the runner, Casals reached on the first stolen base of the day for Harwich.
Casals had a great jump on that ball. Was always going to get in down there at second base. Dillard was not able to get the throw there in time. He was about halfway from first and second when Stuka finally was coming towards the plate.
Now Stuka comes set, 3-1 count, and suddenly another runner in scoring position for Harwich. The pitch to Gill, swung on near the hands and fouled straight back, and the count runs full. How about what Harwich has done to turn things around here in 2018? They come into this one 7-6-1, looking to push that to 8-6-1. They lead the East after last year when they finished 15-28-1. The worst record in the East, and they missed the playoffs. Here comes the full count pitch to Ray Gill. It's a chopper right back to the lanky Stuka. Thought about going to third, settles on a throw to first as he fires to Bierman for out number 2. Danny Casals moved over to third. Stuka figured didn't have enough time to get it over and allowed Jones to apply the tag. So now 2 outs for Nate Eichhoff with a runner creeping on third base. So, yeah, last year, Harwich, one of the worst teams on the Cape.
Dead last, record-wise, 15-28-1.
Only Hyannis was the only other team to not make the playoffs, but they had the second worst record as ball 1 comes into Eichhoff. They scored, and the scoring for Harwich was brutal last year. They scored 20 fewer runs than any other team on the Cape. Finished second to last in team ERA. Their team's pitchers actually threw 4 times as many wild pitches in 57 as their batters hit home runs in 14. So it was a rough season for Harwich last year, but they're off to a dynamite start this year as they lead the tricky East Division. 1-1 count coming into Eichhoff. And Stuka comes set. He kicks, he fires, and this one fouled straight back to push the count to 1 ball, 2 strikes. Harwich has won 2 titles under the tenure of Steve Englert, those coming in 2011 and 2008.
Of course, Harwich beat Cotuit in that 2008 title game, the first of 3 consecutive championship series appearances for the Kettleers from 08 to 2010.
Here comes the 1-2 from Stuka. It's a chopper over to Corey Wood. He charges in, scoops up the ball, and flips it to Zach Bierman for out number 3. The Kettleers are in need of some offense. They trail 8-3. It's stretch time at Lowell Park. We'll be back with the home half of the 7th right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Back here in Cotuit, the 7th inning stretch is over, and it's time to play ball once again. Top of the order due up for the Kettleers, starting with Michael Tolia, and they'll face a new pitcher on the bump for Harwich. That's it for Garrett Stallings. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks and 6 strikeouts. He was very serviceable. And here comes Ricky DeVito, 6'2", rising junior righty out of Seton Hall. Harwich, he's appeared twice for Harwich this season. He's mustered a 3.85 ERA in 4 2/3 innings, 5 strikeouts, 5 walks, and 5 hits. DeVito, a really solid pitcher out of Seton Hall. All-America's second team this past year for the Pirates, also the 2018 Big East Pitcher of the Year. And he sends a first pitch strike to a half-swinging Michael Tolia, and the count runs to 0-1. So DeVito, part of that excellent pitching staff for Harwich. This past season at Seton Hall, 6-3 record for DeVito, a 1.88 ERA, 67 strikeouts as he sends a ball in the dirt. Opponents hit just 190 against DeVito. So if you struggle in the Cape League, bring in some pitching. Harwich has done that and then some. It's a 1-1 count to Tolia. DeVito sets and fires. The pitch runs inside for ball 2. (8-3), Harwich leads it in the bottom of the 7th. DeVito kicks and deals. Swing and a miss from Tolia for strike 2. Harwich scored a run in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd, 3 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. Cotuit scored 2 runs in the 2nd and 1 in the 5th. And here we are, 8 runs on 10 hits for Harwich. The 2-2 coming from DeVito. A heater runs outside to load up the count. DeVito's got a very funky windup, as when he steps back, he rotates his body almost all the way to the outfield. As he steps back, rotates, and here's the pitch. It's inside. I think it hit Tolia. Either way, he'll head to first.
Well, here's the ingredients that the Kettleers need if they want to spark a rally here in the bottom of the 7th inning down by 5 runs. And the first ingredient is always a pitcher that is wild. We've seen this before. Eli Herrick with Orleans, Dom Masulo and Hyannis.
Ryan Nelson
from
and Mitchell Tyransky.
Yep. A guy that can't find the zone in a leadoff walk or hit batsman, whatever that was to Tolia. That's the first thing that you need.
Here's Zach Bierman. Takes a first pitch strike right down the middle. Ricky DeVito heard you and said, Here, Sam, here's a fastball down Broadway.
There you go.
I've got my control.
I mean, Big East Pitcher of the Year, DeVito had a fantastic season, a 1.88 ERA and 62 1/3 innings pitched. But that leadoff walk, let's see if Kettleers can make him pay.
Pitch to Bierman. It's the outside corner. Bierman doesn't like it, but it's strike 2. DeVito from the Big Apple, born in Staten Island in New York. He's got a no balls, 2 strikes advantage on Zach Bierman. And DeVito comes set. The pitch is a little bit low for ball 1. The New Yorker working up against the Wisconsinite in Zach Bierman. Bierman went from the Milwaukee area all the way down to Coastal Carolina. A big Green Bay Packers fan. Here's the 1-2. Curveball drops in there for strike 3. And that's the first out as Zach Bierman goes down on strikes.
Well, that was a good pitch there from DeVito, but the one that Bierman wasn't happy with was the second called strike, a fastball, according to home plate umpire Rick Emerson, that caught the outside corner, but it was just off the plate in Zach Bierman's eyes, and unfortunately, he goes down looking there.
Tolia still takes his lead at first, and on cue, DeVito checks on the runner. 8-3 Harwich, bottom of the 7th. Dillard at the dish now. He's 1 for 3 today with an RBI single back in the 5th. It's been a wild one here in Cotuit. 11 combined runs on 17 hits and 3 errors between the two teams. As DeVito guns over to first to check on Tolia, who slides back safe once again. So we've seen a lot of runs, a lot of hits, a lot of errors, and an ejection back in the 5th inning. Steve Engler, the Harwich manager, disagreed with a bang-bang call at first. Disagreed so much that he got ejected. First base umpire Jay Dion said, Get out of my face and get out of the park. But Harwich has been just fine without their lead man. A 1-0 count, DeVito against Dillard. Here's the pitch. It's outside for ball 2. So Steve Engler no longer in the game. He's the 16th year manager for Harwich, known for grooming MLB talent. Harwich has had just about as many MLB alums as you can have, as Dillard fouls one straight back. Alex Bregman, Ian Happ, Tim Lincecum, DJ LeMahieu, Brandon Belt, Josh Donaldson, just to name a few. Some say Englert has the magic touch, but he says he just tries not to screw these guys up. They come in as already really solid talent. He just tries to keep them in their flow. 2-1 to Dillard with 1 out and a man on first. He swings and misses for strike 2. On deck, Eric Jones to be followed by Jacob Goldfarb. Kettleers looking for some magic here in the 7th. This was the magic inning for them last week in a comeback win against the Orleans Firebirds. Here comes the 2-2 to Dillard. It runs high and tight for ball 3. In that game, the Kettleers trailed 4-0 up until the bottom of the 7th when they struck for 5 runs on some heroics from Matthew McCourt, Michael Tolia, Bo Brundage, just to name a few. We'll see if they have the same magic in them today. Here comes the payoff pitch to Dillard. Swings on it, taps it right back to DeVito. He flips to second for 1, now to first, not in time. Dillard runs it out to keep the inning alive. Tolia out at second, so now 2 outs for the Kettleers, a man on first, and Eric Jones coming to the dish. Jones is 2 for 3 today. He's been swinging a hot bat as of late. He has 2 singles, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. The single in the 5th was a chopper to third. And then the throw to first was in time, but the first baseman, Nate Eichhoff, had his foot just off the bag. That was the controversial call that led to Steve Engler's ejection. First pitch runs inside for ball 1 on Eric Jones. The Davidson Wildcat. He's turned some heads here in Cotuit. Flashing his leather, flashing the bat. He's been very solid, both offensively and defensively. And he'll try to give the Kettleers a fighting chance. The 1-0 runs way inside, forcing Jones to back up. And he has a 2-0 count.
96 on that high heater inside there.
So Jones, who stepped out for a practice swing, adjusting the helmet, adjusting the batting gloves, as he often does. He likes to spend a lot of time between pitches. And here's the 2-0. It's a fastball down the middle for strike 1. As Jones steps out for the usual routine, practice swing of the bat, and then an adjustment of all his accessories before he steps back in with a deep breath. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. Runner on first, that's Thomas Dillard. Kettleers in an 8-3 hole here in the 7th. DeVito staring down Jones, dangling the ball in his right hand, right at his knees. Now he comes set in a sort of crouch position. The 2-1 swung on, a slow ground ball up the middle, scooped up by the second baseman. Casal's throw back to first, not in time. Eric Jones beat it out. His 3rd single of the day, his 2nd infield single, and now here comes Jacob Goldfarb looking to spark a little 2-out rally.
Once again, Jones hitting one right back up the middle, and it was a troubled play for either Morris at the short or whoever was going to get to that ball, and eventually it was Morris who tried to sling it all the way over to first, and Eichhoff had to come off the bag. There was no way they were going to get Jones in time. So this will keep the inning alive, and maybe if Jacob Goldfarb can get something going here, base knock, at least try and cut back into this lead, or maybe where you put yourself into where the 9th inning is a save situation, you can put some pressure on.
Jacob Goldfarb digs in to face off against DeVito. He looks back at the 2 base runners, Dillard and Jones, and time called by the home plate umpire, Rick Emerson. Umpires in the powder blue with the gray pants. Rick Emerson, Jay Dion, and Tom Ryberg. It's been a busy day for the men in blue. Some close calls and ejection, but they've done a fine job today. With 2 runners on, it's Jacob Goldfarb. Hitter for Oregon, also their best base stealer. for fielder Cam Thompson. Kind of lost it in the sun, just muffed it off his glove. And we saw the mighty fine wheels of Goldfarb coming around second into third. Here's the 1-1 with 2 outs. And it hits Goldfarb. Stings him right on the right shoulder. And with a wince, he tosses his bat away and takes first. Here's Bo Brundage. It's 8-3 with the bases loaded.
How about this? This inning continues. Ricky DeVito just can't find a third out. Hitting batsman, walked a couple batters or walked Tolia to start the inning, and then all of a sudden you got bases loaded and 2 outs. And Bo Brundage, who has been one of the better clutch hitters for Cotuit this season, can he deliver again?
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Kettleers down 5. First pitch to Brundage, about level with his head. Ball 1. Brundage has been sneaky good today. He has a double and a single. A really nice RBI double hit opposite field into left. That was back in the second. And here's a quick mound visit for Harwich. So maybe a chance here for Cotuit. Bases are loaded. Dillard's on third, Jones on second, Goldfarb on first. The Cats trail 8-3 here in the 7th. Rick Emerson coming to the mound to break up this mound visit. A pinch hitter is on deck for the Kettleers. For the first time this season, we're going to get a look at Michael Salvatore, the new shortstop out of Florida State, with maybe a chance to do some damage in his first swings as a Kettleer. But first, it's Bo Brundage, the center fielder out of Portland. He takes a deep breath with a chance to change the narrative. Again, Kettleers down 5, bottom of the 7th. A 1-0 count with 2 outs for Brundage. DeVito comes set. Here's the pitch. Again, it's high. Throwback to first in time. Out number 3 as Logan Driscoll guns down Goldfarb with a really good throw to first. And that stymies the Cotuit rally. Still 8-3 Harwich. The Kettleers had a chance with the bases loaded and Bo Brundage up. But out number 3 comes with Logan Driscoll. And it's still 8-3 Harwich heading into the 8th right here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network.
To Lowell Park, top of the 8th inning, and the Cotuit Kettleers trailing the Harwich Mariners 8-3. New pitcher on for Mike Roberts' side. It's the big right-hander, Joe Boyle, 6'7", out of Notre Dame. He'll be making his 4th appearance on the campaign, set to face 9-1-2 in the Harwich lineup. Matt Gorski will lead things off. Indiana University outfielder, right-handed batter, will be facing Boyle. High leg kick, and the big righty deals in a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for strike 1. Defensive changes for Cotuit. Matthew McCourt in for Oviedo at shortstop. Zach Humphreys is the new catcher and the battery mate with Joe Boyle as a 99-mile-an-hour heater goes wide on the left-handed batter's box for ball 1. Thomas Dillard moves into left field. Jacob Goldfarb moves over to center field, and Bo Brundage is out of the ball game. Boyle's 1-1 to Gorski. Down in the dirt, another fastball misses. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Couple of Indiana schools battling here. Gorski at the flagship university in Bloomington, and of course Notre Dame up in South Bend.
The flagship university.
That is a flagship, yep. Gorski, a Hoosier native out of Fishers, Indiana, Hamilton Southeastern High School grad. Played in one of the finer Midwestern high school conferences for baseball in the land, the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. As Boyle's 2-1 goes up and in, a big fastball once again that brushes back Gorski. It's 3-1. HCC has produced the likes of Lance Lynn, Tucker Barnhart, all in the major leagues out of Brownsburg High School. The 3-1 way upstairs at the shoulders of Gorski, and it's a 5-pitch walk from Joe Boyle to lead off this top of the 8th.
So Joe Boyle coming in now in sort of a no-sweat position. The Kettleers, it's not like they've waved the white flag, but it's an 8-3 game in the 8th. And for Boyle, a chance now to see if he can get his control under wraps. This is a pitcher who, at his best, can shut down any lineup. We saw it at Wareham. He struck out the side against a really good offensive team. But some control issues that will certainly come from a young, tall pitcher that can throw 102, I think he said, was the highest he's done ever. Looks like he has some uniform malfunction right now.
Looks like he's fiddling around with either his belt or trying to tuck in his shirt as he's having a laugh out there with Tom Ryberg, third base umpire.
Now Mike Roberts coming out.
Is everything all right? I think it was a belt issue, but everything seems to be okay. Also another substitution on defense for Cotuit. Michael Salvatore is in the ball game, replacing Corey Wood at second base. Recently activated last night out of Florida State, seeing his first action of the day for the Kets. Leadoff man is Cam Thompson. First pitch from Boyle. Slider that's up and outside for ball 1. Boyle went with all fastballs in the last at-bat to Gorski. Did not find the zone. He looks for the breaking pitch there. Out of the stretch, here's his 1-0. Fastball at the letters for ball 2. 95 on the radar gun as Joe tried to take some off there. Now time called behind the plate by Rick Emerson. Looks like he's communicating out there with Tom Ryberg, who's in B position if you're an umpiring connoisseur.
Which you are, I guess.
I'm no expert. I just learned the other day Mike Finn was giving me the right positions of the umpires. And now Rick Emerson out again from home plate, signaling something on his hip out there to Ryberg.
Tapped his hip.
Nevertheless, Boyle set. Here's the 2-0. Fastball on the outside corner, and that'll do for strike 1. Kettleers trailing by 5 runs. Harwich has poured it on. They scored 3 in the 5th and 2 in the 6th, and that has been the difference so far today. Boyle's 2-1. There's a good fastball at the knees for strike 2. He took a little off, 92 miles an hour, and that'll level up the count. Big right-hander comes set, kicks and fires. Sharp ground ball, left side. It gets past Jones at third base, and it'll trickle into left field for a base hit. So Cam Thompson wins that battle with Joe Boyle, and Harwich has runners on first and second with nobody out to start this 8th inning.
It's interesting to see Boyle's velocity going down here. You got to wonder if that's an attempt to sacrifice a little bit of the velocity to gain a little bit in the control department. That's that time just a good slice. Nice piece of opposite field hitting from Cam Thompson as the infield creeps in a little bit.
Zach Humphreys came out from behind the plate to relay the signs to the infield that are at double play depth with runners on first and second. A sacrifice attempt there from Chris Galland, who showed bunt, is foul.